Chapter 39. A concussive strike. Shui Hui and Ding Tianxun were both wondering who it would be, and when they saw that the person flying over was Qin Yun, they were stunned. Qin Yun, you haven't left yet? Ding Tianxun shouted in shock. Shui Hui believed that Qin Yun was definitely dead, while Ding Tianxun believed that Qin Yun had already escaped. The moment Qin Yun came over, he brandished the ghost head saber in his hand and used the wind-slaying style. The move was smooth and domineering. The oppressive saber chi swept over like a bolt of lightning, enveloping Shui Hui's body in layers. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sharp airflow was like a sharp blade, cutting Shui Hui's entire body into bloody wounds. Blood dripped from her body, making it a tragic sight. You're not dead. What about them? Shui Hui screamed. If I don't die, then they die. What else can happen? Qin Yun came to Shui Hui's side and slashed down with his saber. Shui Hui was at the 7th level martial body realm after all. Although she was heavily injured, she still managed to avoid that fatal strike. She was extremely alarmed. Qin Yun had killed a large group of disciples from famous sects and was still able to calmly attack her. Such a state of mind was shocking. Venomous woman, today I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he used the wind-slaying style again. The saber chi howled like the wind. At such a close distance, Shui Hui was unable to dodge it all. However, she was still not afraid. After all, she was at the 7th level martial body realm. She circulated all the inner force in her body to form a shield to protect herself. Bang! Qin Yun's saber struck the barrier and was repelled by great resistance. A skinny camel is bigger than a horse. You want to kill me? No way. Shui Hui sneered. Qin Yun's expression turned cold as the hand holding the saber trembled. When Shui Hui saw Qin Yun's hand trembling, she felt disdain in her heart. She believed that his arm had been injured by the chi barrier when he slashed out with his saber. Break! Qin Yun roared as a surge of vibrating inner force surged out and infused it into the ghost head saber. He used the most ferocious mountain splitter style. The saber exploded with a surging, vibrating force, splitting Shui Hui's barrier apart. The saber continued downwards like a hot knife through butter. At that moment, Shui Hui felt a heavy vibrating force pressing down ruthlessly, causing her to feel incomparably shocked. She could clearly sense that there was another martial spirit in Qin Yun's body that was releasing this terrifying vibration power. Vibration martial spirit. The legendary martial spirit. The demon head saber mercilessly slashed down, killing Shui Hui. Shui Hui's face was filled with indignation, and her heart was filled with resentment. She widened her eyes that were filled with fear and stopped breathing. A dignified 7th level martial body was actually killed by a 5th level martial body brat. She died with grievances. Qin Yun took out 2 mid-grade lightning talismans and an upper essence pill from Shui Hui's body. Although he had a storage bag, he was unable to obtain the items inside due to the mental imprint. He went over to help Ding Tianxun up and asked, Mr. Ding, how are you? Ding Tianxun was stunned by Qin Yun's proficient wind slasher art. However, he did not notice the vibration martial spirit. I'm fine, I won't die. After taking the pill, he looked around and sighed. The 6th-style Wind Slayer was a high-grade spirit level martial art. Qin Yun was able to use his inner chi to execute it and had reached the basic level. And he had just obtained the Wind Slasher art not long ago. This was what shocked Ding Tianxun the most. Professor Ding, that steel tiger is not dead. Qin Yun looked at the steel tiger on the ground. Its abdomen was heaving up and down, and it was still breathing. The steel tiger did not take the initiative to attack. Shui Hui was the one who attacked with the lightning talisman in a panic. Ding Tianxun said in a low voice, some demon beasts also understand human nature and will not attack humans for no reason. If you apply this medicine on the steel tiger's body, whether or not it can turn for the better will depend on its luck. Is that really okay? Qin Yun took a box that was filled with light green medicinal powder. I've studied demon beasts for more than 30 years, and I know them very well. I can confirm that this steel tiger is the type that has intelligence. You don't have to worry. Ding Tianshun sighed. If we can avoid killing, then we won't. In this trial, we are killing ferocious demon beasts that are out to prey on humans. Qin Yun walked to the steel tiger's side and smeared the medicinal powder evenly on it. Ding Tianshun's injuries were slightly better, and he could stand up on his own. He put away the corpse of the swift ape and used a fire talisman to burn Shui, Huey's corpse. Those students deserve to die. You don't have to take this matter to heart. Ding Tianshun patted Qin Yun on the shoulder and said, they attacked you for the sake of their own benefits. They asked for it. Following that, Ding Tianshun returned to Principal Zhang's place with Qin Yun's help. The steel tiger has always lived in the inner region of the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. No matter how big the commotion outside is, it shouldn't have come out. On the way, Ding Tianshun was very puzzled about this matter. What's the reason why the steel tiger ran out? Qin Yun asked. To avoid the natural disaster. Ding Tianshun's expression was solemn. Perhaps some disaster is about to befall the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. After more than half a day, Qin Yun and Ding Tianshun finally returned to the empty space in the forest and met Principal Zhang. What's going on? Is the injury that serious? When Principal Zhang saw this, his expression froze as he asked. He was injured by a demon beast. After Ding Tianshun finished speaking, he sat on the ground. People returned one after another and began to tally the results. Those who killed more demon beasts would win. Rank 3 demon beasts were not counted. Only rank 4 and rank 5 demon beasts were counted. A rank 5 demon beast was equivalent to 10 rank 4 demon beasts. Class 1 is amazing. They killed a total of 12. Isn't that so? Jiang Lang has a sound wave martial spirit and has stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm. He is very strong. Sigh. It's infuriating to compare with others. Jiang Lang has 4 spirit veins and a legendary martial spirit. It's normal for him to have stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm early on. However, Qin Yun, this fellow only has 1 bloodline. Could it be that he can step into the 5th level of the martial body realm with the purple gold fire martial spirit? The students discussed in low voices, feeling indignant. They were all envious of Class 1's results, being able to get first place. Also, Class 1 was led by Yang Shiryu. If Yang Shiryu were to lead Qin Yun, then Qin Yun would definitely be first place and enjoy the rewards alone. Everyone had to admit that Yang Shiryu is indeed a good teacher. Due to the Empress interference, she had become Qin Yun's personal teacher. This made many students very angry, feeling that the Empress had made a bad move. Right now, only the 9th class led by Ding Tianshun and the 3rd class led by Chui Hui had yet to count the results. Even Teacher Ding is injured. Qin Yun is truly a calamity. Teacher Ding's strength wasn't very strong to begin with. Now that he's injured, it must be because of Qin Yun. This unlucky fellow. It's because of him that I had no choice but to transfer to another class. Otherwise, I would have been Teacher Yang's student. All the students were criticizing Qin Yun. The corpses of the demonic beasts were all with Ding Tianshun. He was seriously recuperating, so he could not take them out. Ding Tianshun was not strong, but he had an extremely good understanding of demonic beasts. It was impossible for him to be injured by a demonic beast unless he encountered a rank 8 or 9 demonic beast. Therefore, the other teachers were very surprised by this. A teacher walked over and said to Qin Yun sternly, Qin Yun, how did Teacher Ding get injured? Chapter 40. Fight if you don't like it. Ding Tianshun, who was recuperating with his eyes closed, slowly said, It's already not bad that I can come out alive after encountering the steel tiger. My injuries have nothing to do with Qin Yun. Principal Zhang frowned and said, I also saw a rank 8 bird beast fly out from the sky. It seems like something is going to happen in the depths of the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. Yang Shiryu watched quietly from the side. She felt that this matter was not that simple. Doesn't that mean Class 7's Qin Yun has no results? A fat teacher laughed. Because up until now, the class led by this fat middle-aged teacher had the worst results. If Qin Yun didn't have any results, then the class led by him wouldn't be at the bottom. No! After Ding Tianxun stood up, he took out the corpses of 5 demonic beasts from his storage bag. The sword-thorn turkey is a rank 5 demonic beast, while the other 4 are rank 4. Rank 5 demonic beasts are counted as 10, so this is equivalent to 14. Ding Tianxun looked at the fat middle-aged teacher and continued. These were all killed by Qin Yun himself. I'm only responsible for tracking down the demonic beasts and giving pointers from the side. President Zhang came over to take a look, nodded, and said, there are traces of blazing light fist on the corpse of the demonic beast. He actually didn't use a weapon. Looks like his blazing light fist has improved a lot. The 200 students here were instantly in an uproar. Qin Yun was able to kill a rank 5 demonic beast by himself. Furthermore, he was barehanded. This kind of strength was unimaginable to the 4th level students. Many students are envious, jealous, and hateful. They looked at Qin Yun with unwillingness. The teachers had nothing to say. They knew that Ding Tianxun was an honest person and would not side with Qin Yun. The students were so jealous that they secretly gritted their teeth. Because this time, Qin Yun once again monopolized the first-place reward. Now we're just waiting for Class 3. Yang Shiryu smiled and nodded at Qin Yun in appreciation. Only Qin Yun and Ding Tianxun knew that the people from Class 3 would never return, because they were all killed by Qin Yun alone. When Ding Tianxun thought of this, he felt extremely emotional. When the sky turned dark, everyone set up camp and continued to wait for the people from Class 3. It was now the final deadline. Principal, are they not coming back? An old man asked. He was the original teacher of Class 3. I don't know. Let's wait another day. If they can't come back, you guys go back first. I'll go in alone to look for them. Principal Zhang's expression was somewhat heavy. The next morning, Principal Zhang announced that Class 9 had won first place. The reward this time was to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array and cultivate for 10 days. The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array was located at the top of Hualing Peak. Cultivating inside for 10 days was equivalent to absorbing spiritual qi for 1 to 2 years. Dean, we're not convinced. The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array is only activated once a year. It's not a problem for more than 10 people to enter. But now, only Qin Yun's bloodline can enjoy it alone. It is too wasteful. A middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes is very dissatisfied. He is a teacher of Class 1. The other teachers also protested. Qin Yun remembered that these teachers had a good relationship with Master Wei. Yang Shiryu said with a sneer, if Qin Yun can kill so many demonic beasts by himself, why can't he enjoy the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array alone? He's just a piece of trash who got lucky. It must be because of your secret help that he was able to break through so quickly. Yin Yin shouted loudly. She had the Yin family behind her, and her fiancé was Master Wei's son. Furthermore, Master Wei was at the Hua Ling Wu Academy. That was why she dared to contradict Yang Shiryu. Your fiancé has been in the 5th level of the martial body realm for a period of time, but he lost to me. In other words, your fiancé is not even as good as trash like me. Qin Yun chuckled. It's hard on you to marry a fellow who isn't even as good as trash. You. Shut up. Brother Cohen is a future inscription master. He has devoted all his energy to inscriptions and can already craft talismans. After we return this time, Master Wei will invite all the students of the Hua Ling Wu Academy and the various aristocratic families of Tianqin to congratulate us. Yin Yun's angry voice was filled with pride. When she said that Wei Xuanquan could craft talismans, everyone burst into an uproar. Isn't it just talismans? Qin Yun said casually. He could also craft talismans, and he had made quite a few of them. They were all very strong fire talismans. When everyone heard his words, they roared with laughter. Ignorant fellow, do you know what it means to be able to craft talismans? A teacher sneered. This means that Wei Xuanquan has already stepped into the threshold of an inscription master. How many old fellows have studied for decades and are still unable to cross this threshold? When Yin Yun heard this, she proudly raised her head. The other students also came over to congratulate Wei Xuanquan and flatter him in all sorts of ways. Principal, Qin Yun alone enjoys the 9-yang spirit converted to Ray. We are really not convinced. You must understand our feelings, Yin Yun said. Master Wei is preparing to hold a celebratory banquet at the Martial Arts Academy. When the other famous sects find out, enough. If any of you are unconvinced, then fight me. I use my own strength to obtain the reward. That is what I deserve. Why do you have to be unconvinced? With your own strength? Are you as strong as me? Just based on your mouths and how many spirit veins you have. You have more spirit veins than me, and all of you have the help of your families behind you. However, you are still inferior to me, who only has one bloodline. Why? Isn't that because you are useless, not hardworking enough, and idling around all day? Qin Yun was infuriated as he pointed at the group of students who had faces full of dissatisfaction and shouted loudly. The group of students did not dare to say another word. Qin Yun could even defeat Wei Xuanquan. He was not someone they could deal with. I'll fight you. A tall youth walked out. He wore an expensive soft armor and had a proud expression. Zheng Yuanqing is that the Zheng family disciple who possesses the 5-yang spiritual pulse and the golden tiger martial spirit? He's from class 2. A student whispered, his eyes filled with admiration. He has already stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm and possesses a rare beast martial spirit. According to Yin Yun, Wei Xuanquan is not a combat type, so he will lose to Qin Yun. As for Zheng Yuanqing, he possesses a beast martial spirit, so he should be able to focus on combat. He might even be able to defeat Qin Yun. A life-and-death battle? Qin Yun asked coldly. Qin Yun, if you lose, you will allow their class to enter the 9-yang spirit converted array. How about it? If he loses, all the demon beasts that class 2 hunts will belong to you. Principal Zhang said, in a sparring match, it's fine as long as we stop. All right, Qin Yun replied. Class 2 had killed 10 rank, 4 demonic beasts. One of them was worth 2,000 crystal coins. In total, it was 20,000, which was quite a considerable amount. Zheng Yuanqing was secretly pleased with himself. If he defeated Qin Yun, his reputation would definitely soar. It would be of great help to him in raising his status in the family. Everyone made way for them to compete. Begin, Principal Zhang shouted. Zheng Yuanqing's tiger body trembled as the aura of a ferocious beast surged out. He released his aura and charged at Qin Yun like an enraged beast. As he charged, his hands suddenly turned into tiger claws. This was an illusion created by the cultivation technique he had learned. It looked very realistic and powerful. It's a low-grade spirit-level fierce tiger claw. Previously, a rank 4 demonic beast was torn apart by him. I wonder how Qin Yun will deal with it. Chapter 41. Hualing Piqing Yuanqing's attack was as swift and fierce as a tiger. Just his aura alone was shocking. Just as everyone felt that Qin Yun would not be able to withstand it, they saw a faint golden mist seep out from his body. A wave of hot air also surged out. With a whoosh, the pale golden mist began to burn, turning into a flaming barrier. Furthermore, it began to spin rapidly. Qin Yun constantly released his inner qi, causing it to form a sturdy barrier. As the elemental energy in his dantian spun rapidly, it stirred up waves of scorching air. Zheng Yuanqing also felt the heat. However, he believed that his tiger claws were stronger and would definitely be able to penetrate the thin barrier. Tiger claw shattering heart. After Zheng Yuanqing went over, he extended his tiger claw. His speed suddenly increased by a lot, causing the powerful tiger claw to charge forward and stab at Qin Yun's chest. Everyone held their breaths as they looked at the sharp tiger claw. The tiger claw made contact with the flaming barrier and produced a loud explosion. Bang! A scorching wave of air suddenly burst out from the barrier, sending the menacing Zheng Yuanqing flying. Ah! Zheng Yuanqing gritted his teeth and roared in pain. His palm was extremely red and severely burned. The pain made him break out in a cold sweat and his face turned green. Qin Yun is actually able to release such a level of inner qi so quickly. The speed at which his elemental energy revolves must be as fast as the flaming barrier. A teacher said with a frown. Qin Yun has cultivated the black yang tactic to the large success stage. At the large success stage of his inner force, his inner qi is even stronger and he can control it more freely. Principal Zhang squinted his eyes and exclaimed, "Large success in inner force." All the freshmen present wailed in their hearts. They had only just started cultivating their inner force. They did not know when they would reach the initial stage, but Qin Yun had already reached the large success stage. For freshmen, it's best to start cultivating regular inner force skills. The black yang tactic that Qin Yun cultivates is not bad. Ding Tianchun said, "In many new families, the cultivation techniques are at the spirit level. For those who have just started cultivating inner force, it is extremely difficult to learn." When the other students heard this, they all regretted it. If he had cultivated an ordinary inner force skill, he might have already reached the small success stage. When it was about time, he would be able to switch to a better inner force skill, and it would be easier to learn. I admit defeat. Zheng Yuanqing looked at his burnt hand and shouted while gritting his teeth. They were both at the 5th level martial body realm, but the difference was so great. "I'm not convinced either." Yin Yin walked out from the crowd. "Qin Yun, if you have the ability, stand still and let me punch you. As long as I can force you to retreat, you'll lose." "How about it?" Qin Yun said. "As long as you lose, the 8 Class 4 demonic beast corpses of your Class 5 will belong to me. How about it?" "All right." After Yin Yin finished speaking, she immediately used the swallow steps and rushed over. Her jade-like hands overflowed with water vapor, and after a dozen steps, the water vapor turned into frost. She had a water martial spirit. Through her inner force, she could turn water into frost. This level was considered pretty good among the freshmen. Previously, as Qin Yun's barrier was too hot, Zheng Yuanqing was unable to penetrate it. Right now, Yin Yun was using her own cold energy to resist the scorching heat. Furthermore, her other hand had also condensed a large ball of water. Yin Yun was full of confidence, thinking that she would definitely succeed. She couldn't help but reveal a complacent smile. She used the momentum of her flight to throw out the ball of water that she had condensed. Then, her ice palm followed behind the ball of water and struck out with great force. Everyone couldn't help but praise Yin Yun's intelligence for thinking of a way to extinguish the fire with water. Just as Yin Yun was feeling complacent, the ball of water she shot out instantly evaporated the moment it touched the flame shield. Her expression changed, but it was too late. The ice palm touched the flaming shield. At the same time, the expressions of the few teachers changed drastically as they rushed over. "Ah!" The teachers acted quickly and quickly extinguished the flames, preventing Yin Yun from being seriously injured. However, she was also burned to a sorry state. Her hand was even more severely injured than Zheng Yuanqing's. Yin Yun was in pain and angry. She burst into tears. Ever since he was young, this was the first time he had suffered so much. Then, he cried and fainted in the arms of a middle-aged female teacher. Everyone felt inexplicably pleased when they saw the arrogant barbarian woman stumble. "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me?" Qin Yun glanced at the group of students and asked. Those students were all silent. They were all looking at the waves. Jiang Lang possessed the sound wave martial spirit, and he was at the 5th level of the martial body stage. If he were to fight, his chances of winning would be very high. However, he had no intention of fighting. This person was extremely ruthless and didn't speak much. Seeing that he was indifferent, he couldn't help but feel that he was shrewd. Since no one else is coming, then it's settled. Principal Zhang handed Qin Yun a jade token that allowed him to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Following that, Qin Yun also obtained the demonic beasts that Class 2 and Class 5 had killed. There were a total of 18 beasts. Adding on the ones that he had killed himself, It could be said to be a bountiful harvest. The expressions of the class that had lost the corpses of the demonic beasts were very ugly. The corpse of the swift ape that Qin Yun had obtained was the most precious. It was a rank 7 demonic beast. On the way back, Ding Tianxun had given him the corpse of the swift ape. Everyone waited for another day, but Cui Hui and the students of the 3rd class still hadn't returned. During this time, they saw a giant fiery red eagle flying through the sky. It was a rank 8 demonic beast. In the outer region of the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, there are more and more class 8 and 9 demon beasts appearing. Something must have happened inside. I'll go in and take a look. You guys return to the Hualing Wu Academy first. After Principal Zhang finished speaking, he entered the depths of the forest alone. The teachers and students also quickly returned to the Hualing Wu Academy. Half a day later, they returned to the Hualing Wu Academy. Yang Shi, you brought Qin Yun to the bottom of Hualing Peak. Hualing Peak was the tallest mountain in the Hualing Wu Academy. In the innermost area of the academy, it was 10,000 meters tall. The top of the mountain was covered in frost all year round and was extremely cold. The Hualing Peak was steep, and he needed to climb it himself. This was not too difficult for Qin Yun, who was at the 5th level of the martial body realm. However, it took him several hours to reach the peak. The peak was extremely cold. Ice and snow fluttered in the air, and the cold wind was like knives. Qin Yun looked at the 9 suns in the sky and walked toward the 9-story ice pagoda. He thought to himself, although there are a few suns, only one of them is hot. The other 8 are only emitting light. How strange. Because the tower was covered in ice and snow, it looked like an ice tower. When Qin Yun entered the ice tower, he saw a white-haired old man in his twilight years. He took out the jade token that Principal Zhang had given him and handed it over. He said, "Hello, Senior. I have obtained the qualifications to enter the 9-yang spirit convergence array." The old man took the jade token and said slowly, "The 9-yang spirit convergence array is at the top. After you go up, wait patiently. I will activate the array. 10 days later, the formation will stop. At that time, you should quickly leave this place." Qin Yun nodded and walked up the stairs to the top floor. Chapter 42. 9-yang spirit convergence array. Qin Yun looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, he took out the 36 spirit inscriptions bamboo slip and opened it. As expected, the 9-yang spirit convergence array used a few of the spirit inscriptions. All I saw were the parts of the bright lines. That's why I felt it was familiar. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. Then, he walked back and forth on the floor, memorizing the locations of the spirit inscriptions. Then, he took out another piece of paper and quickly drew on it. Soon, he had drawn the entire 9-yang spirit convergence array. Suddenly, a strong aura fluctuated as a large amount of 9-yang energy poured in. The 9-yang spirit convergence array had been activated. Qin Yun hurriedly sat down cross-legged and circulated the black yang tactic to absorb the 9-yang energy. After stepping into the 5th level of the martial body realm, you need to continuously condense inner force to develop and strengthen your inner yuan. This will allow the inner yuan to contain more and more inner qi, allowing you to continuously condense more inner force. Then, you can use the powerful inner force to temper your body and cultivate the 3 great scriptures. Yang Shi, you had previously told him that when he was at the 5th level of the martial body realm, he would need to condense the bone meridian, heart meridian, and soul meridian in his body before he could step into the 6th level of the martial body realm. Qin Yun looked at the black, vibrating elemental energy and thought to himself, I have talent equivalent to a 9-yang spirit vein. However, because I have 2 elemental energies, I have to put in more effort. This can also make me stronger. 10 days passed by quickly. In a 9-yang spirit convergence array, Qin Yun absorbed a large amount of 9-yang energy. It was equivalent to 2 years of absorption. After the array stopped, Qin Yun reluctantly walked down the stairs. He did not break through, but the 2 elemental energies had become much larger. The main reason was that he needed to consume a lot of inner force to consolidate his vibrating elemental energy. Last time, he had been heavily injured by Qin Duran and his Dantian, but his elemental energy was unharmed. It was because he was protecting himself with his vibrating elemental energy. Therefore, it was worth it no matter how much inner force he consumed to vibrate his elemental energy. Next, I need to condense 3 great scriptures in order to break through to the 6th level of the martial body realm. Although I'm not at the 6th level martial body realm, even if I cannot win against a martial artist at the 6th level martial body realm, I will not lose. Qin Yun walked out of the ice pagoda and took a bath in the ice and snow outside. He changed into a set of clean white clothes and began climbing down Hua Ling Peak. When he came down from Hua Ling Peak, he saw Yang Shi Yu slowly walking over from afar. She was dressed in a purple dress, which made her look noble and cold, gorgeous and moving. Qin Yun said with smile, "Teacher, you came on time." Yang Shi Yu smiled lightly and said, "You are my only precious student. Of course I have to take good care of you. Besides, I am very worried about Master Wei being in the Hualing Wu Academy. He hasn't left yet. Didn't they say that they were going to hold a banquet to celebrate Wei Xuanquan becoming a talisman master? It hasn't been opened yet." Qin Yun could not help but laugh. "It's just talisman making. What's the big deal?" Yang Shi Yu secretly curled her lips. In Qin Yun's eyes, it was indeed nothing much. However, to most people, so long as they were able to craft a talisman successfully, it was worth celebrating. She said, "Master Wei invited too many guests, so it was delayed until now. He also invited us. Are you going?" Qin Yun said with a smile, "Why wouldn't I go if I can eat and drink for free? After all, it's Master Wei. They will definitely use the best food and wine to entertain the guests." He had been cultivating on the ice tower for 10 days. Although he did not feel hungry after absorbing spiritual energy, he was very passionate about delicacies and would eat whenever he could. Yang Shi Yu said with a faint smile, "All right, let's go together. I heard that it's all high-quality food and wine, so the taste will definitely be good. When the time comes, we'll have a drink or two. We'll use this banquet to congratulate you on successfully creating a spirit inscription." As Qin Yun and Yang Shi Yu chatted and laughed, they arrived at the side of the lake. The two of them strolled along the bank that was filled with willow trees. "Teacher, Yin Yun was injured by me. With her personality, she definitely won't let this go." Qin Yun said worriedly. "Wei Xuanquan was also injured by you. What can he do to you?" Yang Shi Yu disapproved. "No, he secretly took revenge." Qin Yun recalled the matter, and anger surfaced on his face. It seems like there's another reason why Teacher Ding was injured. Yang Shi Yu had felt that this matter was somewhat fishy. Is Principal Zhang back? Qin Yun lowered his voice and asked as he looked around. When Yang Shi Yu saw Qin Yun's actions, she could tell that something shocking was going on. She hurriedly pulled him back to the small house in the bamboo forest. Teacher Ding and I were ambushed inside. Qin Yun took out the corpse of a swift ape and placed it on the ground in the hall. "This is..." Yang Shi Yu frowned slightly. Soon, she saw a collar and said, "A demonic beast with a master." After Teacher Ding was injured in the battle with this swift ape, Cui Hui brought a group of students out. I was surrounded by students, and Teacher Ding and Cui Hui fought bitterly. When Qin Yun said this, Yang Shi Yu had already vaguely guessed something. Principal Zhang came back 2 days ago. He couldn't find Cui Hui in that group of students. Yang Shi Yu looked at Qin Yun with a questioning gaze. Qin Yun nodded. "I was the one who killed the students and Cui Hui." Qin Yun sighed and told Yang Shi Yu what had happened. "Just pretend that this didn't happen. Teacher Ding definitely won't tell anyone." Yang Shi Yu patted Qin Yun's head and smiled gently. "Hurry up and tell me about your gains in the 9-Yang Spirit Convergence Array." Qin Yun told Yang Shi Yu about his cultivation situation and asked her for advice on the essentials of cultivating the 3 great scriptures. After Yang Shi Yu finished listening, she smiled in satisfaction and began to talk about the aspects that needed to be paid attention to in cultivating the 3 great scriptures. Qin Yun listened very seriously and raised some questions from time to time. It wasn't until late at night that Yang Shiryu finished the lesson and returned to their rooms to rest. At night, Qin Yun was full of energy. Instead of resting, he was crafting talismans. The lightning talisman Shui Hui used is really powerful. It can injure a steel tiger. He found a lightning rune from the bamboo scroll that recorded the spirit runes and then inscribed it on the talisman paper. After a few failures, he finally succeeded in creating a lightning talisman. With Qin Yun's experience in crafting fire talismans, it was much easier for him to craft other talismans. Right now, I'm only making low-grade spirit talismans. Shui Hui is using high-grade and top-grade lightning talismans. Qin Yun looked at the lightning talismans he had created and felt very satisfied. As my cultivation level increases, my mental strength will also increase by quite a bit. Now, I can make fire talismans faster than before. Later on, he created another fire talisman before going to rest. At dawn, the largest martial arts practice square in the Hua Ling Martial Arts Academy was bustling with noise and excitement. In the martial arts practice square, many people were busy moving chairs and preparing for the grand banquet. Master Wei had put in a lot of effort to celebrate his son's birthday. At the same time, it was also to allow Wei Xuanquan to use this celebration to redeem the face he had lost to Qin Yun. In the evening, the 9 bright red suns dyed the world red. In the martial arts practice field of the Hua Ling Martial Arts Academy, it was gorgeous and the officials were like a city. It could be seen how high Master Wei's status was. Chapter 43. Banquet. At the beginning of the banquet, Master Wei was dressed in a dazzling golden robe. It was very luxurious. His square face was filled with smiles as he walked onto a dueling platform in front of him and began to speak courteously. After Master Wei finished his courteous words, he went up to Wei Xuanquan. He was dressed in the same golden robes as his father, and there was a sword hanging from his waist. It seemed to be a spirit artifact. Wei Xuanquan also said a lot of pleasantries before starting to set off fireworks. After the fireworks were set off, the battling platform was filled with singing and dancing. The guests below the stage were drinking and chatting merrily. Many nobles from famous sects came forward to congratulate Wei Xuanquan and Master Wei. It was very lively. Qin Yun, on the other hand, ate and drank with Yang Shiryu. In any case, it was free. Furthermore, Principal Zhang was also here in the Hua Ling Wu Academy, so Master Wei wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. Yang Shiryu was also dressed simply tonight. She wore a simple and elegant white dress. After drinking a few cups of wine, a faint blush appeared on her jade-like face, making her look extremely charming. Master Wei held a cup of wine and floated to Qin Yun's side in a few steps. He laughed heartily and said, "Qin Yun, after you defeated Kun you defeated Little Yun and obtained the qualifications to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. You could be said to be the #1 genius among the freshmen of the Hua Lingwu Academy. I'm truly grateful that you were able to attend this banquet." Although the martial arts practice field was bustling with noise, Master Wei's unhurried voice entered everyone's ears. Master Wei said such polite words and even toasted Qin Yun. Such magnanimity made many people praise him repeatedly. Qin Yun hurriedly stood up to toast and said with a smile, "Master Wei is too polite. We are all students of the Hua Lingwu Academy. Senior Wei being able to craft talismans is naturally the glory of the Hua Lingwu Academy. Of course I have to come." His refreshing laughter also covered the entire martial arts practice field. The strength of his inner qi caused many of the old officials to be secretly alarmed. Ever since Qin Yun entered the Hua Lingwu Academy, the group of old officials had never seen him. Now that they saw him with their own eyes, they couldn't help but feel worried. At this moment, a white-haired old man walked over. He wore a purple-gold brocade robe and had a jade pendant hanging from his waist. He had a domineering aura. As he walked over, he stared at Qin Yun with a cold gaze. This white-haired old man was the Duke of Yin, Yin Yun's grandfather. After he walked over, he said to Master Wei, "Old Wei, you don't know. This child has been taught by a demoness since he was young. Although he took away 4 of his spirit veins, he still managed to cultivate a demonic art. That's why he's able to achieve what he has today. He's just a little demoness. He's not worthy of you toasting him. The group of old officials and the people from the aristocratic families also walked up and cooperated with the Duke of Yin, saying that Qin Yin cultivated a demonic art. Qin Yin knew that today would not be that simple. Previously, when they were training, he and Ding Tianxun had been attacked by the Quick Ape and Shui Hui. This was all related to Master Wei. He now knew that Master Wei was a hypocrite, just like those old officials. Principal Zhang walked over and said with a smile, Qin Yin is a student of my Hua Ling Wu Academy. He does not cultivate demonic arts. The Black Yang art that he cultivated was given to him by Teacher Yang, and the martial skills he learned later on were the Flaming Light Fist and Fire Cloud Steps that he obtained himself. This is something that everyone knows. When the Duke of Yin saw Principal Zhang speak, he immediately revealed a worried expression. He clicked his tongue and sighed. Principal, even though your words are like that, you can't convince the masses. You might not know this, but at this moment, the entire Tianqin believes that Qin Yin cultivates demonic arts. Your one-sided words are hard to believe. Also, it is precisely because of Qin Yin that the reputation of the Hua Ling Wu Academy has become extremely poor and has been ridiculed by the martial academies of other countries. Yang Shiryu looked at the expressions of the other guests and knew that they had already secretly discussed this banquet to put pressure on the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Even if Qin Yin did not come this time, he would still make a big fuss here. Then what do you think? Kill Qin Yin. Principal Zhang chuckled and his tone turned cold as he said, if I send a few thousand people to spread the news that Wei Xuanquan cultivates demonic arts, I think it won't be long before the entire country thinks that he cultivates demonic arts, right? Everyone was puzzled as to why Principal Zhang was protecting Qin Yin. In their eyes, Principal Zhang should have chosen to give up on Qin Yin for the sake of the Hua Ling Wu Academy's reputation. The Duke of Yin seemed to have expected that Principal Zhang would protect Qin Yin. He said calmly, why don't we do this? Let Qin Yin compete with a stronger martial artist for an hour. In this hour, he faced the pressure and did not use his demonic arts. That proves that he is innocent. This method is cruel, but it can effectively detect if he cultivates demonic arts. During the martial arts competition, he might not be able to withstand the torture and release his demonic arts. If he really uses a demonic art, we can promise not to kill him. We will only expel him from the country. The method proposed by the Duke of Yin received the support of many people. Yang Shiryu listened to him, and her face revealed anger. She shouted coldly, I disagree. I also suspect that you cultivate demonic arts. I will also use this method to test you. How about I compete with you in martial arts? She was at the 9th level martial body realm and came from the Tianxian martial school. She was definitely not weak, and no one knew what her martial spirit was. Not many of the old martial artists here at the 9th level martial body realm dared to fight with her. One of the patriarchs of the Wang family said, in any case, we have already decided today. If Qin Yin cannot give us an explanation, we will drop out of school. We will also drop out of school and leave this martial arts academy that takes in devils. We will go to another empire's martial arts academy. Qin Yin has become so strong after cultivating demonic arts. He has occupied all the resources of the freshmen. This is very unfair, so we can only withdraw from school. The martial arts academies of other countries are not inferior to the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Moreover, the teachers and principals here are protecting devils. As teachers, we can't stand it any longer. Let's go as well. A teacher said. The patriarchs and teachers of the major clans were all shouting at the same time. Principal Zhang's expression was extremely ugly. He knew that this group of people would definitely be able to do the same. Now, he could only persuade Qin Yin to leave. Qin Yin suddenly asked, who are you arranging to compete with me? If it's not a martial artist that's too strong, I can accept it. The Duke of Yin chuckled and said with a proud smile, a martial artist at the 6th level martial body realm. He is only 18 years old and has just returned from the Ling Xianwu Academy. It is my grandson, Yin Qingyu. Yin Qingyu possesses the 4-yang spiritual pulse and the platinum sword martial spirit. He entered the Hua Ling Wu Academy a long time ago and was chosen by the Ling Xian Wu Academy. I never thought that he would already be at the 6th level of the martial body realm. A student exclaimed. The Ling Xian Wu Academy, the Tian Xian Martial School, and the Star Xian Wu Academy were known as the 3 profound martial schools. They were all equally powerful. The Duke of Yin said with a smile, "Don't worry, we won't use weapons during the martial arts competition. Qin Yun, if you can pass our test and prove that you're not a devil warrior, we will kneel down and apologize to you. Furthermore, we will give you a certain amount of compensation, 100,000 crystal coins." Chapter 44. Bone Forging Scripture. Yang Shiyu pulled Qin Yun over because she had heard of Yin Qingyu and knew that he was very strong. She looked at the group of people and said, "Qin Yun, with your talent, even if you're not in the martial arts academy, you will still be able to achieve great things." Qin Yun said, "Teacher, believe me, I'm not only doing this for myself, but also to let others know that you are not harboring a devil and that your students are very outstanding." His calm voice carried an unyielding arrogance. When Yang Shiyu saw Qin Yun's firm determination and confidence, she sighed softly and released his hand, allowing him to walk onto the battling platform. The Duke of Yin smiled proudly and said, "You only need to last for an hour. In this hour, there will be no one who will admit defeat or beg for mercy, and life and death is up to the heavens." He looked at Master Wei and continued, "In order to ensure fairness, I would like to request Master Wei to activate a formation. In less than an hour, no one will be able to enter or exit." Suddenly, a cry came from the crowd. Yin Qingyu did not float out from there. He landed on the battling platform like a fallen leaf. His movement technique was praiseworthy. He wore a close-fitting green robe and had a handsome face. His eyebrows were like swords, and his eyes were like stars. His eyes were filled with disdain as he sized up Qin Yun. Master Wei placed many small flags around the battling platform and quickly set up a formation. When the Duke of Yin and the other old officials saw that this matter had been settled, their faces were filled with joy. They laughed heartily and toasted each other. It was as if they were happy to see Qin Yun die. Yin Yun was the happiest. She looked at Qin Yun with a pair of sinister eyes and said with a smile, "Brother Cohen, Qin Yun is dead for sure this time, right? Qingyu is your brother. Don't you know his strength?" The Ling Xian Wu Academy was a Xian-level martial arts academy. The students inside were all extremely terrifying. It was not something that a 5th-level martial body like Qin Yun could deal with. Even a 6th-level martial body cultivator would not be able to guarantee that he would not be injured when facing your brother. Wei Xuanquan also smiled happily. Qin Yun, who he hated to the bones, was about to die a tragic death. Principal Zhang's expression was solemn and cold. He took out an hour-long hourglass, flipped it over, and announced the start of the match. Of course, this could not be considered a martial art competition because Yin Qingyu was much stronger than Qin Yun. As long as Qin Yun could last for an hour without using any demonic arts, everyone would believe that he was innocent. Yin Qingyu was a disciple of the Yin family. He had mastered the flying swallow steps very well. In the beginning, he suddenly flashed, leaving an afterimage behind him as he flew out. When he was still 2 meters away from Qin Yun, he raised his palm and struck out with a gust of wind. His inner force roared towards Qin Yun along with a gust of wind. So fast, much faster than me. When Qin Yun saw Yin Qingyu attack, he was alarmed. He immediately gritted his teeth. He could only block, there was no way to dodge. The blade-like gale blew on his body, as if countless sharp blades had sliced through his clothes. Fortunately, he circulated the accumulated internal qi into his muscles, causing them to tighten and stiffen. Otherwise, his body would definitely be lacerated. Although he could withstand it, he was blown back, his body leaning against the wall of air released by the array formation. The Duke of Yin let out a long laugh and said with a face full of righteousness, "Qingyu has a sword martial spirit. He can use his hand as a sword and release sword chi. Right now, in order to force Qin Yun to release his demonic arts, he will have his own limits. He will not kill Qin Yun in an instant, because this will not convince everyone. The sixth level of the martial body realm could use powerful inner strength, but Yin Qingyu did not use it. You injured little sister Yun earlier. Now I will repay you 10 times for her. Yin Qingyu sneered. With a wave of his hand, he sent out a cyclone that swept Qin Yun over. After Qin Yun's body was swept over, he felt a sharp pain in his body like a needle. He could not help but cry out in pain. Following that, Yin Qingyu struck out with his palm, releasing a sharp sword chi. The sword chi enveloped him like 10,000 needles, piercing his bones. It was so painful that Qin Yun roared crazily. Yin Yun giggled as she trembled. Wei Xuankun was also so happy that he drank a bowl of wine. The old officials were grinning from ear to ear. They felt that Qin Yun, a great calamity, had been eliminated. Everyone was happy. Yang Shiyu clenched her jade-like fists tightly. Her face was frosty as she gritted her teeth. Her heart was filled with anger. Umph! When Yin Qingyu saw that Qin Yun was powerless to struggle, he struck Qin Yun's abdomen with his palm, striking his dantian and sending Qin Yun flying. He crashed into the array wall and spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately, thousands of people in the plaza cried out in alarm. Some people felt pity, some were excited, and some were helpless. This was because Yin Qingyu's palm was extremely heavy. Without any protection, the elemental energy in Qin Yun's dantian would definitely be severely injured. Everyone felt that even if he didn't die, he would have to spend the rest of his body in bed. A 15-year-old at the 5th level of the martial body realm was about to fall just like that. Everyone sighed endlessly. Yang Shiyu only watched expressionlessly. That palm strike had also caused her heart to tremble. Only when she saw Qin Yun slowly stand up did she heave a sigh of relief. She knew that Qin Yun had a powerful physique. After soaking in the Celestial Lion Lake for 10 days, he had been tempered for a long time. He was tough and strong, so he wouldn't be defeated so easily. When they saw Qin Yun stand up, a soft exclamation came from below. This was very surprising. All right, let's see how long you can last. Yin Xingyu's expression turned cold, as if he had received a great provocation. He flew forward and swept out with his sword-like inner force, lifting Qin Yun up and suspending him in midair. Qin Yun's body was enveloped by the sword Qi, as though it was tied up by thorny vines. The bone-piercing sword Qi constantly drilled into his body, causing pain to seep into his bones. Hold on. Although Qin Yun was in excruciating pain, he was clear-headed. He hurriedly circulated the Black Yang tactic, allowing the two elemental energies to revolve and condense inner force that flowed through his body. Now, he was certain that his elemental energy would not be shattered, because the vibrating elemental energy was extremely powerful. When Yin Xingyu attacked with great force, the vibrating elemental energy once again protected his dantian. Qin Yun controlled his inner force to flow through his body, crushing and fusing the bone-piercing sword Qi. Then, it charged into his bone marrow and tempered his bones. Yang Shiyu had previously said that the fastest way to condense the bone scripture was to undergo intense stimulation. Usually, precious medicinal herbs and high-grade beast blood were used to concoct a medicinal liquid to soak the entire body. Qin Yun did not have the conditions to soak in a medicinal bath, so he could only use this method. He looked at Yin Xingyu and secretly endured it in his heart. He said, "Don't be complacent. I'm using your sword Qi to forge the bone scripture." Boom! Yin Xingyu continued to use his sword Qi to wreak havoc on Qin Yun. It was as though he was hitting a sandbag. He constantly ravaged him with greater strength each time. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. They were not frightened by Yin Xingyu's methods, but by Qin Yun's resilient body. Every time Qin Yun suffered a heavy blow, everyone thought that he had completely fallen to the ground. However, he was always able to drag his battered body to stand up time and time again. Such tenacious willpower made many people admire him. Yang Shiyu's tightly clenched jade-like fists were covered in sweat. She could not bear to watch as she secretly ached. How could she not tell that Qin Yun was forging the bone scripture? However, this was too tragic. However, she had no choice but to watch. She was worried that something might happen to Qin Yun. Chapter 45. Inner Yuan, or the strength of Qin Yun's body, shocked the group of old officials. They were also very envious. If he could really survive this 1 hour, then the old minister's plan would have failed. Is this the result of soaking in the celestial lion lake for 10 days? How he endured the 10 days of torture in the celestial lion lake. He will be able to endure it now. Ding Tianshan said in a low voice. His words caused many people to shiver. Everyone knew that Yin Qingyu, who was crazily ravaging Qin Yun on the stage, had also entered the celestial lion lake. However, he only lasted for a day before crawling out. He had almost died inside, and according to the rumors, Qin Yun walked out with Yang Shiryu as if nothing had happened. Yin Qingyu originally thought that he could quickly force Qin Yun to submit. He even believed that even if Qin Yun did not cultivate a demonic art, he would still admit it because he could not endure his torture. However, Qin Yun had no intention of surrendering. His face was filled with determination as he gritted his teeth and endured all sorts of pain. The most terrifying thing was that every time he was beaten into a pile of mud, he could stand up again. This unyielding will infected many people. I will never yield. Qin Yun roared in his heart and crawled up with great difficulty. Yin Qingyu was very angry. He looked at the Duke of Yin below the battling platform and saw the Duke of Yin nodding at him. This scene caused Yang Shiyu's nerves to tense up. Ding Tianshan and President Zhang were the same, and they also decided that no matter what, they absolutely could not let Qin Yun be destroyed here. After Yin Qingyu obtained approval, he could use all kinds of stronger methods to attack Qin Yun. At this moment, more than half of the hourglass had leaked out. After Qin Yun stood up, Yin Qingyu let out a loud roar. The sword energy condensed into a short sword. Inner strength. Someone shouted, and the crowd started to shout. The short sword condensed from the mist was inner strength. His powerful inner force could pierce through steel and crack iron, and crush mountains. Inner strength was a powerful form of power that could only be used at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Only by cultivating the 3 great scriptures would one be able to control inner strength. A short sword-like inner strength shot out and struck Qin Yun's abdomen. Just as Yang Shiryu was about to rush over, she saw Qin Yun's eyes, which were tightly wrinkled from the pain, emit a glimmer of light. This made her immediately stop. After the inner strength of the short sword struck Qin Yun's dantian, the inner strength was not blasted away by the vibrating inner yuan. Instead, it entered the vibrating inner yuan. The vibrating inner yuan absorbed this inner strength and began to vibrate violently. Qin Yun had thought that the vibration inner elemental energy was about to dissipate, but he never expected that the inner strength of the short sword would be absorbed by the vibration inner elemental energy. The vibration spread throughout his body and seeped into his bone marrow. He felt as if every part of his body was being torn apart. After being torn apart, the 2 inner elemental energies immediately released the 9 yang inner qi to quickly heal the injuries. The process was extremely painful, but Qin Yun was extremely excited. This was because he saw the 2 elemental energies in his dantian spinning rapidly, sometimes big and sometimes small. After contracting, they suddenly expanded, as if they were breathing. Inner yuan. Qin Yun was extremely excited. Only when he cultivated his inner force cultivation method to perfection would such a phenomenon occur. If it was a higher level cultivation technique, he would be able to use his inner yuan and spiritual breath when he mastered it. The inner yuan spirit breath could allow one's inner yuan to breathe. When one breathed in and out, the inner yuan would spin rapidly, allowing one's inner yuan to be released or absorbed even more spiritual energy. It was said that some people were unable to use their inner yuan when they were at the 8th or even ninth level of the martial body realm. However, Qin Yun had already reached that level. Yin Xingyu came to Qin Yun's side and sneered. "You won't be able to stand up this time, right?" He stepped on Qin Yun's back. Qin Yun did not get up again. He was mainly shaking his inner yuan and constantly sending waves of inner strength to every part of his body to temper his flesh and bones. This was the key to the bone-forging scripture. "Tell me, did you cultivate a demonic art?" Yin Xingyu shouted coldly as he pressed. Yang Shiyu suddenly shouted, "If Qin Yun dies, and you cannot prove that he cultivates a demonic art, I, Yang Shiyu, will make you pay with your blood, even if I have to risk my life." Her ice-cold voice was accompanied by a bone-piercing, killing intent that enveloped the entire martial arts practice field. Everyone could not help but feel a chill run down their spines. Our Hualing Wu Academy will definitely not let a student be forced to death like this. Since I have already stepped into the martial Dao realm, I will do my best to not let the person who persecuted the students leave alive. When Principal Zhang's light voice appeared, it caused everyone's body to tremble. What kind of strength was that in the martial Dao realm? None of the people present knew, but they knew that it was extremely terrifying. If Qin Yun were to die just like that, and there was no definite explanation for the cultivation of demonic arts, the Duke of Yin and the others would face quite a bit of pressure, such as Yang Shiyu and Principal Zhang, especially Yang Shiyu. She had a cultivation at the 9th level martial body realm. If she were to fight with her life on the line, it would be extremely terrifying. Furthermore, she was a student from the Tianxian Martial School. At this moment, Yin Xingyu was also facing quite a bit of pressure. Back then, the elders had told him that Qin Yun was either forced to use demonic arts or forced to admit that he cultivated demonic arts. However, the current Qin Yun was so stubborn. He did not use demonic arts, nor did he admit it. Yin Xingyu could not kill Qin Yun. Otherwise, none of his elders would be able to escape. If an hour passed and there was no proof that Qin Yun cultivated demonic arts, the Duke of Yin and the other old officials would have to kneel down and apologize to Qin Yun. Yin Xingyu gritted his teeth and released another wave of inner strength. A short sword-like inner strength entered Qin Yun's body from his back. This time, it was the same as before. The inner strength was absorbed by the vibration and then released to every part of his body to temper his muscles and bones. Qin Yun was also clear about the current situation. Yin Xingyu did not dare to kill him. Otherwise, more than half of the people here would be buried with him. Even Master Wei might not be able to escape. Yang Shiyu and Principal Zhang's cold-killing intent enveloped the martial arts practice field. It was as if the moment Qin Yun died, they would kill until rivers of blood flowed. This oppressive atmosphere made it difficult for many people to breathe. In the dark night, the stars and moon were obscured by the thick clouds, making it even darker. In the martial arts practice field of the Hualing Wu Academy, no one had eaten or eaten. Their backs were drenched in cold sweat as they stared at the sand in the hourglass. On the battling platform, Yin Xingyu would occasionally strike Qin Yun with his inner strength. However, Qin Yun refused to admit that he cultivated demonic arts. Furthermore, he did not use demonic arts to counterattack, nor did he faint. He endured the pain. An hour was about to pass. If Qin Yun could endure it, the Duke of Yin and the group of old officials would have to kneel down and admit their wrongs. This was kneeling in front of thousands of people. Although the Duke of Yin and the group of treacherous officials were scheming, they did not expect Qin Yun to have such tenacious willpower. This was because it was something they did not have, so they were naturally overlooked. In the past, no matter how stubborn the people who fell into their hands were, they would be tortured and forced to confess. But now, this trick was no longer effective. Qin Yun's arduous cultivation for the past 5 years had allowed him to train the most lacking willpower and strong faith among the nobles. His vibrating inner yuan was breathing, constantly releasing inner force to flow through his entire body. Unknowingly, faint golden threads had condensed, as if they were connecting all the bones in his body. Chapter 46. Admit one's mistake. Qin Yun could sense that his inner force was flowing through the bone meridian. It could easily enter his bone marrow, filling his bones with even more strength and allowing him to withstand even stronger impacts. The bones were the framework of the body. If the bones were strong, the flesh and blood would be strong. The 5 viscera and 6 bowels would be strengthened as well, and one would be able to cultivate a powerful physique. The bone meridian is indeed powerful. It's like the meridians of elemental energy. It can affect all the meridians in the body and quickly transport elemental energy to the entire body. Through the bone meridian, Qin Yun quickly circulated the 2 powerful 9-yang inner qi throughout his body. The bone meridians were completely condensed and linked together. The insides of the bones were exploding with crackling sounds. It was as if Qin Yun had been reborn. The pain he had just suffered had completely disappeared in an instant. Abundant inner force instantly filled his entire body. Yin Xingyu sent out another wave of inner force that turned into a sword. This time, Qin Yun moved. He rolled on the ground to avoid the inner force. The inner force landed on the ground, shattering the hard stone slabs. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yun leaped up and used his hands as blades to execute the Wind Slasher style. Now, he could use his inner force to execute the Wind Slasher incantation. This meant that he had learned the Wind Slasher technique to the initial realm. Spirit level upper grade martial arts. Initial mastery was no small matter. Its power was extremely terrifying. Yin Xingyu never expected that Qin Yun, who had been tortured half to death by him, would suddenly jump up violently. Furthermore, he had ravaged Qin Yun for nearly an hour. His body had consumed a lot of energy. After all, Yin Xingyu was from the Ling Xianwu Academy. He reacted extremely quickly when encountering a sudden situation. He immediately circulated his remaining inner qi to block. He crossed his hands, and his inner force surged out, forming a shield that blocked Qin Yun's 2 hand blades. Qin Yun chopped down with both hands as a shockwave of inner force surged out, propelling a scorching flame inner force. When he chopped down with both hands, it was like 2 giant sabers carrying a vast and mighty force, falling down with the force to split mountains and split the earth. Their hands, one attacking and one defending, collided at an extremely fast speed. Boom! Sparks burst out and flames shot out. The vibrating inner force released by Qin Yun dispersed the inner force on Yin Xingyu's arms. The vibrating power, along with the flame inner qi, surged into Yin Xingyu's body like a wave. Yin Xingyu's arms flailed wildly as he screamed in agony. Everything happened too quickly, and everyone was dumbfounded. No one expected that Qin Yun would suddenly rise from the dead and jump up to attack Yin Xingyu. Master Wei, quickly remove the formation. The Duke of Yin wanted to jump onto the battling platform, but was stopped by the formation. It had to be said that the formation set up by Master Wei was truly sturdy. The Duke of Yin was at the 9th level martial body realm, yet he was unable to shake it in the slightest. It could be seen that Master Wei had put in a lot of effort to set up this formation. It was to prevent Qin Yun from being rescued at the critical moment. Just as Master Wei was about to remove the array formation in a panic, a whooshing sound suddenly came from the battling platform. Qin Yun's hands overflowed with flaming inner force. It was like a sharp blade as he executed a terrifying saber technique. What was even more terrifying was that the invisible, vibrating internal energy in his flesh and bones could shake off all defenses. Shwa shwa shwa. Qin Yun attacked with both his sabers. Wind Slasher, Wave Breaker, Mountain Splitter, Lightning Bolt, a terrifying saber aura, chaotic and overbearing, enveloped Yin Xingyu's body. In just 4 moves, the meridians in Yin Xingyu's body had been shattered by the saber aura. Many shocking Dao marks appeared on the surface of his body. In a short instant, Yin Qingyu's flesh and blood were badly mutilated by Qin Yun's saber. At this moment, the sand in the hourglass had completely leaked out and the formation was automatically undone. The martial arts practice field was silent. The corners of the Duke of Yan's eyes and the muscles on his old face twitched violently. The most outstanding disciple of the Yin family had been defeated so miserably in front of him. Yang Shiryu had already leaped up and landed beside Qin Yun. Only she knew that Qin Yun had cultivated the bone scripture. That was why he was able to instantly unleash such terrifying power. "Brother Qingyu," Yin Yun cried out miserably and fainted. As for the Yin family's woman, she burst into tears. Qin Yun sneered. Just now, he had been tortured to a miserable state. As for these people, they were all beaming with joy as they drank and chatted merrily. After the Duke of Yin jumped up to check on Yin Qingyu's injuries, he pointed at Qin Yun. His voice and hands trembled violently. "Qin Yun, you. He was so sad and angry that he couldn't speak. Anger constantly surged out from his trembling body, setting off gusts of wind. This was because Yin Qingyu's elemental energy was gone. Yang Shiryu's face was as cold as ice as she stood in front of Qin Yun. She said coldly, "Everyone has already seen that Qin Yun did not use demonic arts. He used flame, inner chi, and wind slasher incantation. Of course, his wind slasher incantation has already reached the initial stage, and he has already condensed inner force. 5th level martial body, condensing inner force, initial success of wind slasher incantation. Even a martial artist at the 6th level martial body would find it difficult to withstand." Wei Xuanquan was also alarmed by Qin Yun's terrifying talent. He asked involuntarily, then, why was he able to condense inner force in such a short period of time? 10 days for the Celestial Lion Lake, and 10 days for the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. If it were you, would you dare to say that you wouldn't be able to condense it? President Zhang said with a sneer, "Qin Yun's martial talent is not bad, but there are many more terrifying than him. For example, Xiao Yuelan of the Tian Shao Empire. She is only 16 years old, but she is already at the 8th level martial body realm. Could it be that she is also cultivating a demonic art?" Xiao Yuelan was actually at the 8th level martial body realm. Not only the youths, even many of the old officials and teachers were shocked. Their faces were filled with disbelief. A 16-year-old girl with a cultivation at the 8th level martial body realm was even higher than many of the teachers and old officials here. This was truly shocking. From the looks of it, Qin Yun was nothing compared to Xiao Yuelan. A few elders from the Yin family went up to check on Yin Qingyu's injuries and shook their heads in despair. He was already crippled. Whether or not he could wake up was one thing, even though he was still alive. The Duke of Yin watched as Yin Qingyu was carried away. He walked down and sat down on a chair. He was so grief-stricken that he nearly vomited blood. Although the other old officials' faces were filled with grief, they were secretly delighted in their hearts. The genius disciples of other families were destroyed. This was something they loved to see. After all, who didn't want the other powers to be stronger? Furthermore, at this moment, the Duke of Yin was stepping on their heads and flaunting his prowess. He often boasted about how amazing Yin Qingyu was. "All of you, come up now and kneel down and admit your wrongs to Qin Yun." Yang Shiryu suddenly shouted angrily, causing everyone to tremble. Everyone suddenly recalled what the Duke of Yin and the others had promised them. Master Wei sighed and walked up to the stage. He said in a clear voice, "A gentleman's words cannot be retracted. From the test just now, Qin Yun did not cultivate any demonic arts. Furthermore, he had cultivated the bone scripture. He was a rare martial arts genius. Since that's the case, everyone should abide by their previous promise and do as they say. After all, everyone is a highly respected minister of the country." Just as everyone thought that Master Wei was about to kneel down and admit his wrongs to Qin Yun, they heard him laugh heartily and say, "Everyone, Qin Yun is the son of the Heavenly Emperor. As his subjects, it's normal for you to kneel down to him. This is nothing to you. It's just a matter of admitting your wrongs. Furthermore, he was tortured just now. Chapter 47. Martial spirit bestowed by the Heaven's Master Wei's ability to sail with the wind could be said to be at the pinnacle of perfection, causing all the ministers present to feel displeased. At this moment, the Duke of Yan's mood was the most wonderful. His outstanding grandson had been destroyed, and now he had to kneel down and admit his wrongs to Qin Yun, who had destroyed his grandson. This was what it meant to lift a rock and smash one's own foot. Not only did it smash his foot, it even smashed his own head. The Duke of Yin had lived for a long time and was someone who had seen the wind and waves. After calming down the grief and anger in his heart, he slowly said, "We can now be sure that Qin Yun did not cultivate demonic arts, but that does not mean that he is not at fault. Back then, the Grand Preceptor cultivated a forbidden demonic art because he allowed it to happen. Yan Xingyu had already been destroyed. If he knelt to Qin Yun again, he, the Duke of Yin, will become a laughingstock in the heavenly Qin kingdom once word of this got out. No matter what, he could not kneel to Qin Yun and admit his wrongs." When Qin Yun saw the attitude of the Duke of Yin and the group of old officials, he said angrily and coldly, "In that case, it is natural for you to cripple my spirit vein because I cultivate demonic arts?" When the Duke of Yin saw that his previous words had angered Qin Yun, he could not help but feel pleased. He continued to use a mocking tone as he said, "We took away your spirit vein to punish you for allowing the Grand Preceptor to cultivate demonic arts. What's wrong with that? Fortunately, your spirit vein was successfully fused with the Crown Prince, allowing him to become a rare genius with 6 meridians. If he can become the strongest emperor of my Tianqin kingdom in the future, it could be considered as making up for it." Qin Yun was infuriated by these words. The flame inner qi in his body surged out as he clenched his fists. Flames flickered as his anger surged. When the Duke of Yin saw this, he raised his head slightly with a sneer on his face, revealing an expression that said, "What can you do to me?" When Yang Shiryu saw this scene and felt Qin Yun's anger, she was also infuriated. Her expression was incomparably cold as she said coldly, "No matter what, all of you must kneel down and admit your wrongs to Qin Yun today. You must do what you promised me. I don't care what mistakes he made before." Her voice was filled with killing intent. The Duke of Yin had enough. In order to prevent others from thinking that he was afraid of a little girl, he sneered angrily, "I won't kneel. What can you do to me? Do you think you can kill us?" Although our Yin clan does not have anyone who has stepped into the martial Dao realm, there are still a few at the 9th level martial body realm. It was true that Yang Shiryu was at the 9th level martial body realm, but among the ministers here, there were also several at the 9th level martial body realm. They had been on the battlefield for a long time and had killed countless people. In terms of combat experience, they were definitely richer than a 20-year-old girl like Yang Shiryu. Duke Yin looked at the old officials and a few teachers around him. He immediately felt a lot more at ease. They were all his people. He couldn't help but raise his head arrogantly and continued, "I'd like to see what you can do to us if we don't kneel and admit our mistakes." Now, they were just not fulfilling their promise. They had done this kind of thing many times before. If they really knelt down and admitted their wrongs to Qin Yun, that would be truly humiliating. Suddenly, Yang Shiryu's tall and slender body trembled, overflowing with silver light like a cold moon. A cold, icy wind whistled over. Her white dress fluttered. Her long hair danced in the wind, and her graceful figure was bathed in the cold moonlight. She looked noble and holy, like a proud and aloof silver moon in the night, sacred and inviolable. "If you don't kneel down and admit your wrongs to Qin Yun, I won't kill you. However, I guarantee that you will crawl out of the Hualing Wu Academy tonight." Her voice seemed to come from the depths of the 9 hells, causing everyone to feel a chill of fear. Qin Yun was standing beside Yang Shiryu. When he saw this scene, he was also alarmed. His hidden vibration, martial spirit, trembled even more violently, as if it was infected by Yang Shiryu's state. It wasn't just him. Everyone present, as long as they possessed a martial spirit, was trembling in fear. The faces of Duke Yin and the others were even paler. They were intimidated by Yang Shiyu's aura. Crash! Yang Shiyu's jade-like body suddenly flashed with a blinding silver light. A bone-piercing cold wave fused with the silver light. Like countless silver ice crystals, they howled out and swept in all directions. When everyone opened their stinging eyes, they suddenly discovered that there was a bright moon hanging above Yang Shiyu's head. The silver glow of the bright moon lingered, filled with a divine aura. This was released by Yang Shiryu. Although it wasn't big, it was enough to illuminate the entire Hua Lingwu Academy. Everyone was frightened out of their wits. They were tongue-tied, and their faces were filled with fear. At the same time that they were shocked, their bodies felt as if they were in an icy pond. The moonlight was very beautiful, but it was also very cold. Just like the current Yang Shiryu, she had a peerless beauty that could topple a city. She was as elegant and refined as a fairy from the heavens, and her cold and arrogant aura was natural. Only the old martial artist could tell that this was Yang Shiyu's martial spirit, Moon Martial Spirit. The Moon Martial Spirit was recognized as one of the strongest martial spirits. It was said that the only thing stronger than the Moon Martial Spirit was the Sun Martial Spirit. These martial spirits were all stronger than legendary martial spirits, and were known as martial spirits bestowed by the heavens. The moon had the power to activate the tides. At this moment, Yang Shiryu was using the power of the moon martial spirit to affect other people's martial spirits, causing them to surge like a tide. This was only one of the mysterious powers of the moon martial spirit. Are you going to kneel or not? Yang Shiryu's cold voice condensed into an ice-cold, killing intent that enveloped them. The Duke of Yin and the others were so intimidated that their bodies trembled as they walked towards the battling platform with trembling legs. Previously, Yang Shiryu had said that she would tell Qin Yun what his martial spirit was when he had sufficient strength. Now, Qin Yun finally saw the martial spirit that Yang Shiryu possessed. He was extremely shocked. After Yang Shiryu released her moon martial spirit, she could feel the martial spirits of others. Right now, she could clearly sense that there were two extremely strong martial spirits jumping behind her. There was only Qin Yun behind her. However, she knew very well that Qin Yun had a purple-gold fire martial spirit. Therefore, she was surprised to discover that Qin Yun had an even stronger martial spirit in his body. She suddenly thought of dual martial spirits. The Duke of Yin and the others all walked over in fear. Yang Shiryu also withdrew her moon martial spirit. Everyone immediately felt much more relaxed, but their hearts were still thumping. They were still trapped in the state of fear and shock. The Duke of Yin and dozens of old generals knelt in front of Qin Yun and kowtowed a few times. They were also apologizing. Qin Yun looked at the Duke of Yin and temporarily vented his anger. He had suffered internal injuries just now and had been enduring it. However, because of the moon martial spirit, he suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood. This mouthful of blood sprayed onto the Duke of Yan's face, causing everyone to be alarmed. They all felt that Qin Yun had done it on purpose. The Duke of Yin was so angry that his entire body was trembling, but he did not dare to say another word, because they were not Yang Shiryu's match. When everyone saw the Duke of Yan's face covered in blood from Qin Yun's spit, they wanted to laugh, but they did not dare. They could only resist the urge to laugh. Seeing that this matter was almost over, Master Wei said, "Principal, your Hua Lingwu Academy is truly an eye-opener. Both the students and the teachers are talented. I would like to ask, in the Hua Lingwu Academy, teachers can't provide property to students, right? Everyone has seen Teacher Yang's strength. Although I don't know why she came here to be a teacher, she must be very rich." Qin Yun did not cultivate any demonic arts and only had one spirit vein. Yet, he was able to make such a huge improvement in such a short period of time. This makes one wonder if Teacher Yang is providing him with rich resources to cultivate. Principal, please make the Hua Ling Wu Academy fairer. Otherwise, during the competition, the resources will be snatched away by Qin Yun. If the Martial Arts Academy ignores it, it will damage the reputation of the Martial Arts Academy and the future of all the students. Chapter 48. Talisman. Making Principal Zhang nodded and said, "This is indeed the rule of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Once it is violated, both teachers and students will be expelled from the academy." Yang Shi, you was a principled person. Master Wei could tell this, so he dared to bring this matter up. The other teachers who were familiar with the ministers all stood up one after another, insisting that Yang Shi you had provided Qin Yun with abundant resources. Many students also thought so. In particular, the new students also voiced out their dissatisfaction with this matter. This was because as long as it was a competition, Qin Yun would snatch away the resources. Therefore, chasing Qin Yun out of the Hua Lingwu Academy would be of great benefit to them. As for the older students at the 5th level martial body realm, they also felt that Qin Yun was a threat to them. For example, at the Heavenly Lion martial meet, the older students, had been mocked. The Duke of Yin and the others were secretly happy to see that Master Wei was not letting go of this matter. If Yang Shi Yu and Qin Yun were to be chased out of the Hua Ling Wu Academy, because of this, it would be a relief. Yang Shi Yu said coldly, "I've never provided Qin Yun with cultivation resources. He's the only one in my class. Therefore, most of the time, I've been guiding him in his cultivation and imparting all sorts of martial arts knowledge to him. That's all. Even if we are willing to believe you, the others may not necessarily believe you." Master Wei shook his head and sighed. "If there is no strong proof, how can you make everyone believe your side of the story?" Yang Shi Yu's expression suddenly turned cold. She did not know how to prove it, because she could not understand how Qin Yun, who only had one spirit vein, could improve so quickly. She had only just found out that Qin Yun had a martial spirit in his body. She could not reveal this matter. Just as Yang Shi Yu was in a dilemma, Qin Yun said calmly, "I know how to craft talismans. My cultivation resources were all exchanged for by secretly selling talismans." "How is this possible?" Master Wei laughed. "Kuan-Er has been learning spirit runes from me since he was young, and he only knew how to craft talismans this year. Yet you suddenly know how to craft talismans? This is simply wishful thinking." Everyone was taken aback by Qin Yun's words. However, when they heard Master Wei's words, they found it laughable. Wei Xuanquan laughed loudly and said, "My innate talent in inscriptions isn't bad. It took me such a long time to learn, but you? Humph, who taught you how to craft talismans? Even teacher Yang wouldn't do it. I'll make a talisman on the spot to show you." Master Wei is an inscription master, and the masters of the inscription palace are also here. They will definitely be able to identify it. Qin Yun's expression was calm as he smiled faintly. "My inscription technique was taught to me by the Grand Preceptor. I've been learning from her since I was young. It's just that everyone doesn't know about it. If she hadn't been murdered by a group of bastards, I might have been able to refine spirit tools by now." Everyone was in an uproar. It was actually taught by that female devil, Grand Preceptor. Actually, many people understood why the Grand Tutor cultivated demonic arts. Because after this incident, the Empress and her people were the ones who benefited the most. It is not wrong for Qin Yun to say that his runes were imparted to him by the Grand Preceptor because he obtained them from the 9 Yang Divine Spirit. No one knew that the Grand Preceptor understood inscriptions. They only knew that her medical skills were brilliant. Back then, Yuan Yining's illness was very strange. She was the one who cured it. Furthermore, she had even prescribed a few prescriptions and publicized them, curing many difficult and complicated illnesses. "I don't believe it," Wei Xuanquan shouted loudly. "Use my talisman paper and inscription brush to craft talismans. If you can really refine them, you don't have to promise anything, lest you end up like the last time with the blue sword." And now, Yin Yun has also fainted. Qin Yun chuckled as his voice was filled with ridicule. "Even if she doesn't faint, she can't ask me for anything back." Wei Xuanquan was so angry that he didn't know how to respond. Qin Yun looked so confident that he seemed to be able to craft talismans. However, Many people still did not believe him. After all, it was not a simple matter to enter the inscription realm. Master Wei walked onto the battling platform and took out an exquisite and small golden carving knife. He said, "If you can successfully create a talisman, I will give this carving knife to you. This is a mid-grade spirit artifact." This carving knife was many times better than the one Qin Yun was currently using. It made him secretly excited. If you can't succeed, then it can prove that Teacher Yang is secretly helping you. Since you have broken the rules of the Hua Lingwu Academy, then you should leave the Hua Lingwu Academy. Master Wei sighed. Also, there's no need to give you the 100,000 crystal coins that the Duke of Yin owes you. Sure, Qin Yun agreed readily. Wei Xuanquan was a little anxious. However, when he saw how indifferent his father was, he felt relieved. Use my talisman paper and brush. Master Wei took out a stack of talisman paper and a tattered brush. Qin Yun said, "I only use a carving knife to create talismans. Please give me a carving knife." Using a carving knife to create talismans required a certain level of skill. His request made Wei Xuanquan sneer. However, Master Wei still took out an old carving knife and handed it over. Yang sure you felt that there must be something fishy going on. Just as she was about to say something, she saw a person walk onto the battling platform. This person was an old man in a white robe. He had white hair and a ruddy face. His white beard reached his chest, and his eyebrows were benevolent. After he came up, he chuckled and said, "I am the General Director of the Divine Inscription Palace, Duanqian. The Divine Inscription Palace in this area of the Tianqin Empire is under this old man's control. As for this appraisal, let this old man be in charge." Chapter 49. Elementary Talisman. Master Duanqian took out a talisman paper and a carving knife from his storage spirit artifact and handed them to Qin Yun. He said with a smile, "Young man, if you can really craft talismans, then you're a beginner talisman master. Only when you can create low-grade spirit talismans, low-grade spirit artifacts, and set up spirit arrays can you become a beginner-level inscription master." Yang Shu felt a lot more at ease now, because Duanqian was very interested in Qin Yun and had no ill intentions. If the Divine Inscription Palace could absorb outstanding talents, it would also increase the strength of the Divine Inscription Palace. The Divine Inscription Palace was spread throughout the 3 empires and several other countries. It was not afraid of the imperial power of the empire and was a very mysterious existence. There were many people who knew Duanqian, but they knew that he wasn't simple. After all, he was the general director of the Tianqin Divine Inscription Palace. He was definitely very powerful. It could be seen from Master Wei's respectful attitude towards him. "You can start now. With us old fellows here, don't even think about playing any tricks." Duanqian stroked his beard and laughed. Qin Yun calmed himself down. Although he still had some internal injuries, it did not affect his talisman crafting. Now that he had cultivated the bone scripture, he could condense the blood-soul power more smoothly and quickly. He gripped the carving knife tightly and found that it was much better than the one he had. This was a spirit-grade carving knife. After Qin Yun condensed blood-soul power, he could easily infuse it into the carving knife. At this moment, a very strange feeling appeared, as if the carving knife was a part of his body, connected to his flesh and blood. He secretly exclaimed in his heart, "Maybe it's because of the carving knife. It seems like a good carving knife can get twice the result with half the effort when carving." Suddenly, a bright red spot of light appeared on the tip of the carving knife, causing all the seniors to exclaim in surprise. As long as one had a slight understanding of inscriptions, they would know that this was the power of the blood soul. Once he could condense the power of the blood soul, it meant that he was half a step into the Tao of inscription. Wei Xuanquan's face was filled with disbelief, because even he could not do it to this extent. He could only condense the loose power of the blood soul on the tip of the brush to draw talismans. Qin Yun began slashing down with his saber. The saber shaft released a screen of light that enveloped his hand and the talisman on the table. When drawing the dark runes, It was necessary to cover them up to prevent others from stealing the precious spirit runes. His movements looked very skillful and had a certain level of mastery. One look and one could tell that he drew frequently. Wei Xuanquan felt very upset when he saw this. Master Wei's forehead was already sweating. Previously, Wei Xuanquan had said that he had focused all his energy on learning the Tao of inscriptions and was not good at fighting. That was why he had lost to Qin Yun in the martial arts competition. At present, in terms of the Tao of inscription, he was far inferior to Qin Yun. He was completely defeated. A moment later, Qin Yun put away the light screen. Although the paper talisman was blank, it was covered with a faint layer of blood soul power. The dark lines had been completed. Next, he was going to start drawing inscriptions. What he drew was a fire talisman, which was also the one he was most familiar with. The carving knife moved like dragons and snakes on the talisman paper, drawing complicated flame patterns. The tip of the knife was smooth and natural, flowing on the talisman paper like moving clouds and flowing water. Duan Qian and Master Wei could not help but widen their eyes in surprise when they saw this kind of foundation. After the bright lines were drawn, the talisman moved slightly, stirring up a faint heat. The blood-colored patterns flickered with a bright red light, and the mysterious flame patterns on it looked as if they were pulsating, giving off a feeling of heat. This is a fire talisman. I've made it. Qin Yun handed the fire talisman to the astonished Duan Qian. Duan Qian stared blankly at Qin Yun for a long time before he regained his senses. This fire talisman is very powerful. It's the strongest low-grade fire spirit talisman I've ever seen. Duan Qian exclaimed, "You are a qualified beginner talisman master. Your spirit inscriptions are very strong. Who taught you?" "My grand preceptor." Qin Yun sighed softly. Qin Yun could really craft talismans. The students were shocked as they discussed in shock, causing the martial arts practice field to be in an uproar. A 15-year-old at the 5th level of the martial body realm, and a beginner talisman master. With such talent, only Xiao Yuelan of the Tian Shao Empire could compare to him. However, the Tian Shao Empire had canceled the engagement between Xiao Yuelan and Qin Yun and changed it to a grand engagement with the new crown prince of Tianqin. At that time, there would be a grand engagement ceremony. The faces of the Duke of Yin and the other ministers were ashen. They knew what this meant. If Qin Yun could craft talismans, he would definitely be valued. The Divine Inscription Palace would definitely support him in secret. "Master Wei, do you mean what you said before?" Yang Shiryu asked coldly. Master Wei had said that he would give his carving knife to Qin Yun. Of course it counts. Such an outstanding young elite will definitely be able to bring glory to my carving knife. Qin Yun, you must take good care of this saber. Master Wei laughed heartily, as if he was sincerely giving it to Qin Yun. However, in his heart, he cursed Qin Yun with many vulgarities. Wei Xuanquan gritted his teeth as he watched, as if he was about to shatter them. Even in his dreams, he had fallen into Qin Yun's hands. After Qin Yun took the carving knife, he gave it a try and realized that it was difficult for him to inject the power of his blood soul into it. He hurriedly asked, "Is there a special use for it? Why can't I use it?" "Let me see." Master Wei hurriedly took it and revealed a slightly angry expression. "Qin Yun, what's wrong with you? You destroyed it the moment you obtained it. What are your intentions? This carving knife has been with me for many years. You actually intentionally destroyed it." Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu could not help but look at each other as they praised the old fox's methods. It was obvious that the carving knife had been secretly destroyed when Master Wei handed it over. As Qin Yun had previously destroyed the Kuan blue sword, everyone would definitely believe it without a doubt. There were already many voices of criticism below. In addition, after Master Wei destroyed the carving knife, Qin Yun could not use this precious carving knife. He did not want to see Qin Yun advance by leaps and bounds in the Tao of inscriptions because of this carving knife. "Let this old man see." Duan Qian smiled and extended his hand. Master Wei cursed Duan Qian in his heart. Previously, it was because Duan Qian had suddenly jumped up and ruined his plans. Otherwise, Qin Yun would not have been able to successfully create a talisman with a little trick. He could only smile and hand the damaged carving knife to Duan Qian. It was indeed damaged just now, but it wasn't done on purpose by Qin Yun. When he used it, he did not use the power of his blood soul to nourish it. That's why it was damaged. Duan Qian said to Qin Yun with a smile, "Qin Yun, why don't we do this? This old man will give you another carving knife. Leave this broken one to this old man to repair. How about it?" Qin Yun never expected that Duan Qian would once again ruin Master Wei's plans and help him. He hurriedly said, "Then I'll be troubling the general director." Duan Qian took out a carving knife and handed it to Qin Yun. He said with a smile, "This is a low-grade spirit artifact, and it's new. Thank you, General Director." Qin Yun hurriedly thanked him after receiving it. Chapter 50. Senior, please behave yourself. The smile on Master Wei's face was somewhat stiff. Tonight was mainly a celebration for his son, and then he would deal with Qin Yun in passing. However, he never expected that it would cause Qin Yun's reputation to soar. Furthermore, he suffered a huge loss. It wouldn't be long before news of tonight's matter would spread throughout the entire Tianqin Empire, and the surrounding countries would also know about it. As for Master Wei and Wei Xuanquan, they would definitely be laughed at. Of course, Duke Yin was the most pitiful. He had destroyed a very outstanding grandson. However, this was a good thing for many nobles. After the banquet ended, Yang Shiyu pulled Qin Yun away. She wanted to quickly ask Qin Yun about his other martial soul. "Your Highness, what should we do?" Qin Yun has cultivated the bone scripture and can craft talismans. He has become a beginner talisman master and is under the care of the general director of the Divine Inscription Palace. A eunuch's face was filled with anxiety as he said, "Yin Qingyu has also been crippled. That little bastard Qin Yun actually stirred up such a huge storm." The empress sneered and said, "So what if Yin Qingyu is crippled? I heard that his relationship with the crown prince isn't good. We don't have to worry about Qin Yun now. As long as father steps into the martial Dao realm, the entire Tianqin Empire will be ours. At that time, we will find an opportunity to deal with Qin Yun. The most important thing right now is to facilitate the marriage between the crown prince and Xiao Yuelon. The national father-in-law is about to break through." The old eunuch was pleasantly surprised. Soon, the empress smiled complacently. Her eyes were filled with malice as she said in a deep voice, "Qin Yun, just you wait." Qin Yun obtained 100,000 crystal coins as compensation from the Duke of Yin and was hurriedly brought back by Yang Shiyu. It was already late at night when they returned to the small house. Qin Yun's eyes were filled with shock as he said, "Teacher, your moon martial spirit is really powerful. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have exposed myself." Yang Shiyu wrinkled her beautiful nose and snorted. "On the other hand, you brat, you actually have another martial spirit." The corner of Qin Yun's eyes twitched. He never expected that his secret would be discovered. "Is that so?" Yang Shiyu pouted and poked Qin Yun's waist, causing him to jump up. "I didn't mean to hide it from you." Qin Yun looked aggrieved. "It's mainly because that martial spirit is too strange. I'm worried that it will have a bad effect." Yang Shiyu took out the spirit pagoda and winked at him to let him test it. After Qin Yun placed his hand on the spirit pagoda, he activated the power of the vibration martial spirit and injected it into the spirit pagoda. The spirit pagoda suddenly turned black and shook violently. Black, a black martial spirit. Yang Shiyu was stunned. She stared at the pure, black spirit pagoda for a long while before coming back to her senses. "I discovered it when I awakened my martial spirit. Because it was black, I was worried that I would be mistaken for an evil spirit or something, so I hid it." Qin Yun confessed truthfully. He really had this concern. He really has two martial souls, and it's the highest grade, the most mysterious black martial soul. Yang Shiyu's face was filled with joy as she said with a smile, "It has a very strong vibration power. This is the vibration martial spirit. It belongs to the legendary level. I will keep this a secret for you." Qin Yun heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine as long as it wasn't an evil martial spirit. He asked, "Teacher, is a black vibration martial spirit very rare?" Yang Shiryu put away the spirit pagoda and said, "The black martial spirit and the vibration martial spirit are both extremely rare. With both of them together, it's even rarer. When you go to the Star Xianwu Academy in the future, you might be able to understand this kind of martial spirit better." "Can't the Tianxian Martial School do? I want to be with you," Qin Yin said in a low voice. "If you can go to any martial arts academy, then so be it. Improving yourself is the most important thing," Yang Shiryu said with a slightly serious expression. Then, she asked about the situation of the vibration martial spirit. After listening to Qin Yun's explanation, she even took out a booklet to record it down. It seemed to be a very important matter. Since you can achieve the inner Yuan spirit aura, it means that you have cultivated the black yang tactic to the great perfection stage. It seems that you have a chance of reaching the acme of perfection. Yang Shiryu is secretly looking forward to this moment. She seemed to have gained a lot today. She took the notes and hurried back to her room. Qin Yin was also very tired today. When he returned to his room, he fell asleep. In the morning, Qin Yin woke up and took a shower. He changed into a blue tight suit and went to the hall. He saw a note left behind by Yang Shiryu on the table. It said that the principal had gone to look for her and would take a few days to return. The Hualingwu Academy had always been managed by the vice principal, Principal Zhang. The principal rarely appeared. Qin Yin was worried that Yang Shiryu would be transferred away. He thought to himself, "I'll go to the Divine Inscription Palace first. I hope that teacher can accompany me through this semester." Duan Xian had previously said that he should make a trip to the Divine Inscription Palace to receive the badge of a beginner symbol master. This would be much more convenient. The Divine Inscription Palace was in the Imperial City. Qin Yin set off early in the morning and left the Hualingwu Academy on his way to the Imperial City. It was more than 200 kilometers from the Hualingwu Academy to the Imperial City. For a martial artist who could use movement techniques, this was not too far. Qin Yin had only casually run for less than an hour and had already traveled more than half the distance. This was the first time he had traveled alone. The Empress wouldn't dare to deal with me now, right? He had been very vigilant along the way, but he did not encounter any assassins. Qin Yin had been running through the forest. He did not take the main road to avoid encountering others on the road. In the forest, a cool breeze blew. It was extremely calm. Qin Yin ran and stopped along the way, admiring the beautiful flowers. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept over, causing the branches and leaves of a large area to tremble. His expression changed slightly. "There's someone fighting. Forget it. Mind your own business. I'll take a detour." Just as he was about to move, a few black-clothed men appeared with a schwa 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 sound. So strong. Could they all be at the 6th level of the martial body realm? Qin Yin was alarmed, but he was not afraid. He was already prepared for battle. "Stop, it's just a passerby." The one who spoke was a woman. When the woman came over, she carried a fragrance with her. She was wearing black tights, dressed like an assassin. Her oval face was very beautiful. Her eyebrows were like smoke, and her eyes were filled with charm. She looked very mature, especially her plump and tall figure. Under the tight clothes, it was even more captivating. "Young master, maybe this person has already discovered what we were doing. If he were to tell us, we will be in trouble," a man in black said. The woman did not mind at all. She lifted her long hair and looked extremely charming. She smiled sweetly at Qin Yin and said, "Little brother, are you a student of the Hualingwu Academy?" "That's right," Qin Yin answered. The woman's alluring appearance caused his heart to tremble. What was shocking was that the sword in the woman's hand was dripping with blood. The woman was a head taller than him and looked to be 17 or 18 years old. Because she had just taken off her hood, her long black hair was a little messy. She held a sword dripping with blood in her hand and had a coquettish smile on her face. There was a hint of coldness and heroism in her charm. "I'm also from the Hualingwu Academy. Quickly call me senior." The woman smiled and reached out to pinch Qin Yun's face. She said with a chuckle, "What a handsome youth. His body is also very sturdy. Let big sister touch him." Qin Yun never expected this woman to be from the Hua Ling Wu Academy as well. Furthermore, she was very bold and unrestrained. She had already reached her hand into his clothes. Chapter 51. 3 Mysterious Academy. So stingy. If you don't want to give it to me, then don't give it to me. The woman snorted. Young lord, a black-clothed man, seemed to be unable to watch any longer as he shouted with a deep voice. From his voice, he could tell that she was an old woman. All of you can leave now. He is a student of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. If we kill him and the Hua Ling Wu Academy finds out, our Meng family might be wiped out. The woman said casually, he didn't see anything just now anyway. All right. After one of the black-clothed men finished speaking, he left with a schwa sound. The other black-clothed men followed suit. Qin Yun thought to himself that there was indeed a Meng family in the Tianqin kingdom. The current patriarch of the Meng family was the famous demon suppression king. He guarded a place at the border of the Tianqin kingdom where demons and beastmen frequented. Little brother, where are you going? Is it to the imperial city? I also want to go to the imperial city. Let's go together. The woman giggled and pinched Qin Yun's handsome face. Senior, I'm going to the Divine Inscription Palace. Qin Yun said, such a coincidence. I also want to go to the Divine Inscription Palace. Let's go together. The woman shook off the blood on the sword in her hand and sheathed it. Qin Yun only nodded and did not say anything else. Then he ran behind the woman. Do you want to know who we were killing just now? The woman suddenly asked. No. Qin Yun did not know much about the Meng family. They did not come into contact with the palace all year round. We are killing a demon beast. This demon beast has done many evil deeds, but it has been subdued, so we lured the rank 7 demon beast here to kill it. Although Qin Yun did not want to know, the woman still said it. It made sense that the Meng family often hunted down demon beasts and beastmen who killed people. Qin Yun did not ask any further questions. He remained silent along the way. On the other hand, the charming woman chattered nonstop along the way. Her name was Meng Failing. She had 5 spirit veins and a platinum rank eagle martial spirit. This kind of talent was definitely considered a genius. What surprised Qin Yun was that she was only 17 years old and was already at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Furthermore, she looked so mature and alluring, like a ripe fruit. I've said so much, it's your turn. Meng Failing coquettishly licked her lips and narrowed her eyes. She smiled and said, why don't you like to talk? Are you really a little mute? Do you want me to teach you how to speak with my tongue? Qin Yun's mind stirred slightly. Just as he was about to say something, he heard a lion's roar coming from outside. Meng Failing pouted coquettishly and said angrily, the Tian Shao Empire's Xiaolang is here. This bastard rides a stage 7 snow lion all day to scare people. Sooner or later, I will kill that snow lion. This beast has eaten a lot of people. Xiaolang was actually here. Qin Yun was alarmed. Xiaolang was the 2nd prince of the Tian Shao Empire, and he actually appeared in the vicinity of the Tianqin Imperial City. Meng Failing seemed to be quite familiar with him. Senior, what is he doing here? Qin Yun asked softly. I'm here to participate in the Great Ensemble. This time, the Great Ensemble is hosted by our Tianqin Empire's Divine Inscription Palace. I'm on my way there right now, Meng Failing said. Hero gathering? Qin Yun was unaware of this matter. Only students who have entered the 3 Mysterious Academy can participate. As Meng Failing spoke, a gust of cold air assaulted them. In the blink of an eye, a snow-white male lion rushed in. On the back of the snow lion was a thin and handsome man. He wore luxurious silver armor and had a long sword in a golden sheath hanging from his waist. He looked extraordinary. This person was the 2nd prince of the Tian Shao Empire, Xiaolang. Yo, Demonis Meng, I didn't expect you to have such a taste. I like this kind of little brat. Xiaolang looked at Qin Yun and said with a lecherous smile, at least he's not as annoying as you, and he looks much better than you. Meng Failing snorted softly and pulled Qin Yun along. She increased her speed and soared into the air. Stepping on the tree branches, she shook off Xiao Lang in a few moments. This annoying fellow. Sooner or later, I will destroy him. He always likes to have bad ideas about me. Little brother is still the best. You are good-looking and very honest. I like people like you. The more Meng Feiling looked at Qin Yun, the more she found him pleasing to the eye. They quickly walked out of the forest and saw the gates of the imperial city not far away. Qin Yun was still secretly shocked by Xiao Lang's strength. The strength of the Tianshao Empire seemed to be much stronger than Tianqin, especially the strength of the princes and princesses. Xiao Yuan alone was enough to suppress Tianqin. Qin Yun asked, "Senior, what is the Three Mysterious Academy?" Meng Feiling said, "As long as you can step into the 6th level of the martial body realm before the age of 20, you can enter the Three Mysterious Academy. After entering for a period of time, you will be able to participate in the selection of the Great Ensemble. After passing the selection, you will be able to enter the Tianxian Martial School, the Star Xianwu Academy, or the Ling Xianwu Academy." The Great Ensemble was created by the 3 martial academies and the Divine Inscription Palace. It was mainly to select the best students. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the magnificent city gate that was dozens of meters tall. Qin Yun looked at the city gate and sighed with emotion. This was the first time he had entered and exited the imperial city so freely. After entering the city gate, he was like a child. The moment he saw the bustling streets, he became extremely excited. When he discovered something new, he couldn't help but take a look. The main reason was that he had grown up in the imperial palace and had never properly played in the city. From the looks of it, you must have rarely come out to play. I'll take you to the Divine Inscription Palace first. Meng Feiling smiled sweetly. Following that, she led Qin Yun through the streets of various sizes. After a short while, they arrived at the west side of the imperial city. There was a large villa here that was also far away from the busy city. Inside the villa, there were many tall buildings and palaces. When Meng Feiling and Qin Yun arrived, they sensed a trace of cold air. This was the aura of a snow lion. Xiao Lang had actually arrived here before them. At the very front of the villa was a magnificent golden-red palace. This was the main hall of the Divine Inscription Palace. The Divine Inscription Palace was located above 1,000 stone steps. It shone with a golden light, luxurious and glorious. Meng Feiling led Qin Yun up the stone steps and into the hall. The interior of the hall was very spacious, and the decorations were very simple and unadorned. It was solemn and dignified. There were many ancient beast totems engraved on the huge pillars. Xiao Lang and a group of young men and women with extraordinary strength were chatting and laughing here. There were 20 to 30 people here, all of them from the 3 empires of Tianqin, Tianshao, and Tianqi. They were all outstanding youths at the 6th level of the martial body realm. They would compete. If they were outstanding, they would be chosen and would be able to enter the Xian level martial academy. When Xiao Lang saw Meng Feiling and Qin Yun enter, he sneered and said, "Which, you are still as willful as ever. You came to participate in such an important gathering of heroes and even brought your little lover with you." Looking at his aura, he is only at the 4th level of the martial body realm. You are really messing around. A woman in a red dress also sneered. This is the Divine Inscription Palace. Do you know that the chief steward hates people who come in the most? He is a student of the Hua Lingwu Academy. He is not some random person. You, Princess Tianqi, dare to be so arrogant in our Tianzhao's territory? Meng Feiling angrily rebuked, "Be careful. If I find a chance, I will tear your stinky mouth apart." "Quiet, the chief steward is here." A middle-aged man shouted coldly. Everyone immediately quietened down. The chief steward of the Divine Inscription Palace was of high status and power. No one dared to mess around here. Chapter 52. The importance of the chief executive. The conflict between Xiao Lang and Meng Feiling was not small. Otherwise, Xiao Lang would not have found an opportunity to target Meng Feiling. When Duan Qian saw that it was Qin Yun, he could not help but laugh. He said, Qin Yun is no idle person. He is the youngest beginner talisman master in our divine inscription palace. He said to Qin Yun, "Your injuries healed so quickly? I thought it would take you a few days to get here." Duan Qian's words caused Xiao Lang and the group of young 6th level martial body students to look at Qin Yun. They were extremely shocked. They had never seen Qin Yun before, but Qin Yun's name resounded like thunder in their ears. He was the one who defeated Yin Qingyu yesterday. Yin Qingyu was originally from the Three Mysterious Academy, but because he was fancied by the teachers of the Tianxian Martial School, he was recruited in advance. When they learned that Yin Qingyu had been crippled by a fellow called Qin Yun, they were all shocked. Meng Failing was so shocked that her mouth opened slightly. She stared at Qin Yun with widened eyes. She had wanted to ask for Qin Yun's name before, but she had suddenly been interrupted by Xiao Lang and had forgotten about it. She didn't expect that this junior brother was actually a young and influential figure. She glanced at Xiao Lang and the others and snorted softly, "What snobs?" Duan Qian took out a badge and walked in front of Qin Yun with a smile. He handed it over and said with a smile, "This is the badge of a grade talisman master. With this badge, you can stay in the Divine Inscription Palace at any time and entrust the Divine Inscription Palace to sell spirit talismans. You can also inquire about the latest news that you need to pay attention to." To be valued so highly by the General Director of the Divine Inscription Palace, this group of young people who were able to step into the 6th level of the martial body realm at such a young age and were of noble birth were extremely jealous, especially Xiao Lang. Originally, he was the most eye-catching person here, but now, compared to Qin Yun, he was much inferior. He crippled Yin Qingyu. The Tianxian Martial School will not let this matter rest. Xiao Lang snorted. At the very least, the Tianxian Martial School will not want him in the future. It's fine. Qin Yun killed Yin Qingyu, which means that he is stronger than Yin Qingyu. If the Profound Sky Martial Arts Academy doesn't want him, Ling Xian and the Star Xian Wu Academy might fight for him. Duan Qian chuckled, because he doesn't have too many spirit veins. Otherwise, it would have been snatched away by the Black Level Martial Arts Academy. Meng Fei's face is filled with arrogance. She looked at Xiao Lang and company complacently, and then said to Qin Yun in a sweet voice, "My little brother Yun is truly awesome. Can you give big sister a talisman you refined? Let me keep it as a souvenir." Her naughty hands caressed Qin Yun's handsome face. "Of course you can. This is a fire talisman that I refined. Here." Qin Yun handed 2 talismans to Meng Failing. He felt extremely comfortable being touched by a soft, jade-like hand. "Qin Yun, the spirit inscriptions on your fire talisman are high-grade spirit inscriptions. Even our Divine Inscription Palace doesn't have many of these spirit inscriptions," Duan Qian exclaimed. This caused the middle-aged men in the Divine Inscription Palace to be moved. The expressions of the young 6th level martial body cultivators also changed slightly. Every single superior grade spirit pattern was a priceless treasure. When it was inscribed on spirit artifacts, its might was much stronger than that of mid-grade and inferior grade spirit runes. "Head Chief, how can I refine weapons? I don't understand," Qin Yun asked. Duan Qian was proficient in this Tao. If you were to give him a pointer or two, he would be able to avoid many detours. Duan Qian said earnestly, "The process of refining a spirit artifact is very complicated. It is not something that can be mastered in a day or two. You must not be fast, and you need to build a solid foundation. Otherwise, you will cause great harm to yourself. How about this? If you have time, come to the Divine Inscription Palace often. I'll personally guide you. I have to arrange for them to participate in the Great Assembly now." To be able to receive guidance from the General Director was equivalent to receiving guidance from a master teacher. Master Wei's name was resounding, but the nobles knew that Duan Qian's level was above Master Wei's. Many people with power and wealth wanted their descendants to learn from him. However, he was stubborn and did not want any benefits. He rejected them one by one. And now, he valued Qin Yun so much that the disciples of the famous sects present were at a loss as to what to do. If they met a talent like Qin Yun with a limitless future, it would be best to befriend him immediately. However, Qin Yun's situation was too special. He had formed an enmity with the Tianqin Empress and many of the Tianqin generals. If they befriended Qin Yun, they would offend most of the powers in Tianqin. Therefore, they did not dare to act rashly. If they were to be blamed by their families, they would not be able to bear the responsibility. The only thing they could do was not to become enemies with Qin Yun for the time being. On the other hand, Meng Failing did not have any worries. She had a very close relationship with Qin Yun. I'm going to participate in the Great Assembly. Wait for my good news. After Meng Failing finished speaking, she followed Duanxian. After they left, the Divine Inscription Palace became extremely deserted. The main reason was that there weren't many inscription masters. Qin Yun asked for a suite on the floor above the main hall. Inside the suite, there were a few rooms and a quiet secret room, as well as a large hall and a bathroom. He began crafting talismans in a secret room. Ordinary low-grade fire talismans can be sold for 200 crystal coins. If it's a little better, it can be sold for 300. As for the fire talismans that I've refined, it can be sold for at least 400, right? When Qin Yun thought of how he could earn a lot of crystal coins by selling fire talismans, he excitedly picked up a piece of talisman paper and began inscribing spirit marks. He had a low-grade spirit artifact carving knife, so it was even easier for him to craft talismans. In just 2 hours, he had created 5 talismans. Crafting talismans consumed a lot of inner chi and mental energy. Every time he made one, he needed to rest for a while before he could continue. Qin Yun had been crafting talismans for 8 hours straight. Although he was a little tired, he could not help but reveal a happy smile when he saw the 20 fire talismans. If everything goes smoothly, I can get 8,000 crystal coins. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. If he relied on hunting beasts to earn crystal coins, it would take more time and there would be a certain amount of risk. It's about time. Let's rest first. He lay on a comfortable chair and took out the bamboo slip with the 36 spirit marks to look at it. There were many types of spirit inscriptions, and refining materials required alchemy inscriptions. The alchemy inscriptions could be carved on the forging hammer and then used to forge materials, allowing the quality of the materials to be higher. The alchemy inscriptions could also be carved in the furnace, allowing the smelting of materials to be faster and better. There were alchemy inscriptions in his scroll, and they were of high quality. The most commonly used inscriptions on spirit artifacts were solid inscriptions that could make spirit artifacts stronger. Then there were the elemental spirit inscriptions such as thunder, fire, ice, darkness, space, and so on. He had all of these spirit inscriptions. Beast marks were also very useful. For example, if a flying demonic beast flying beast mark was engraved on a spirit artifact, the spirit artifact will be able to fly. They were all rather profound. In addition, there were also illusion inscriptions, poison inscriptions, soul inscriptions, and light inscriptions. They were all very rare. I can buy the furnace and forging hammer at the Divine Inscription Palace first. When my level increases in the future, I can refine them myself. I need to quickly learn how to refine artifacts and sell spirit artifacts to make more money. Qin Yun picked up a booklet in the room. On it were the items for sale in the Divine Inscription Palace. A low-grade spirit artifact furnace costs 600,000 crystal coins. The cheapest forging hammer costs 400,000. In total, I need 1,000,000 crystal coins. Where can I find so many crystal coins? In order to become an inscription master, one needed a very strong foundation of wealth. Even if he could afford these things, he would still have to buy spirit inscriptions. The most important thing was still talent. Without talent, no matter how rich he was, it would be useless. I'll use a half-spirit artifact for now. Qin Yun was very poor now, so he could only make such a plan. Chapter 53. Beginner Artifact Forging. When Qin Yun left the bamboo forest, he left a note for Yang Shiryu, saying that he had gone to the Divine Inscription Palace and that she did not need to worry. In the Divine Inscription Palace, he was busy refining artifacts. After 2 days, he saw a beautiful teacher arrive. Yang Shiryu was wearing a blue dress. It was a dress that Qin Yun thought looked better. When she entered Qin Yun's secret chamber, she felt a wave of heat. She also saw the 1-meter-tall furnace. "You've started forging?" Yang Shiryu said in surprise. If Qin Yun could forge a spirit artifact with his talent, he would not have to worry about other powers finding trouble with him. "Yes, but I haven't mastered it yet." Qin Yun nodded. He had just finished carving the alchemy runes on the furnace and forging hammer. Yang Shiryu picked up the forging hammer and saw the neat and beautiful lines on it. She secretly praised Qin Yun in her heart. Qin Yun's inscription had improved by a lot. Her eyes were filled with encouragement as she looked at Qin Yun and said with a smile, "There's no rush. Forging a spirit artifact requires a learning process." "Teacher, why is the dean looking for you?" Qin Yun was more worried that Yang Shiryu would be transferred away. Yang Shiryu put down the forging hammer and picked up a lightning talisman to look at. She said softly, "He wants me to return to the Tianxian martial school. It's a private matter regarding me. I'll be back for about a month. You can stay here for this month." Although the Yin family hasn't made any movements, it doesn't mean that they won't do anything. "You are very safe in the Divine Inscription Palace." Qin Yun threw the iron into the furnace. With a hint of worry on his face, he said, "Teacher, you must spend this semester with me." Yang Shiryu smiled sweetly and said, "I know. Now, no one can stop me from continuing to teach you. All right, your cultivation is rising too quickly. It's best if you spend some time consolidating and stabilizing it. During this period of time, you should properly study artifact forging. Wait for me to come back before you start cultivating the Heart Sutra." The Heart Sutra was not easy to cultivate. Many people were stuck here for a long time, at least 1 or 2 years, at most 10 years. After Yang Shiryu warned Qin Yun a few things, she hurriedly left the Divine Inscription Palace. Qin Yun could only work hard to learn artifact forging and increase his strength so that he could help this beautiful and slightly melancholic beautiful teacher in the future. He channeled his fire inner force to his hands, causing them to turn red. He took out a few pieces of red-hot iron from the furnace with his bare hands, stacked them together, and pressed them together. He wanted to start from the most basic, which was to use the most common iron to forge spirit iron, and then forge the ghost head saber. Qin Yun's forging process could be said to be very smooth. It was mainly because he had the vibration martial spirit. Using the explosive impact of the vibration, he could achieve twice the result with half the effort. Furthermore, the alchemy patterns carved on the forging hammer were high-grade spirit patterns. After inner force was injected into the spirit patterns, the forging hammer would release a strange and scorching power, turning ordinary iron into spirit iron. The iron that weighed thousands of kilograms was reduced to the size of a knife by him. This was only a rough embryo. It was very heavy and sturdy, so it needed to be carefully polished. After tossing and turning for a whole day, he finally made a demon head saber. "It's much better than my previous one. It seems like it's the effect of the alchemy patterns. A good alchemy pattern can increase the quality of the materials during the forging process. What kind of spirit inscription should I inscribe? Although this saber is forged from spirit iron, it's still not strong enough. At most, it's only a half-spirit weapon." He tested it and discovered that his inner force could be smoothly injected into the blade. This meant that he did not need the origin gathering inscription to increase the smoothness of his inner chi and inner force. "In this way, I can carve solid inscriptions." Solid inscriptions could strengthen the entire body of an artifact. They were commonly used spirit inscriptions. He had mastered high-grade solid inscriptions, which were relatively good. This was his first time carving high-grade spirit inscriptions on a weapon. This was very challenging. The origin gathering inscriptions he had carved in the past were all common basic spirit inscriptions. There was no difficulty at all. He had originally planned to cultivate for half a day before starting to inscribe spirit inscriptions. However, when he thought about how he had to circulate his inner yuan and spirit to the limit to consolidate his cultivation, he did not rest and endured his exhaustion to inscribe spirit inscriptions. When he was inscribing solid inscriptions, It was very smooth from the beginning. When the carving knife moved, it was as if a pen was smoothly drawing on paper. He used the carving knife as a pen and the power of the blood soul as ink. The brush moved like a dragon and snake, and the solid inscription was completed in one go. Late at night, Qin Yun completed one side of the blade. Very smooth. He looked at the natural patterns on the blade, and an indescribable sense of accomplishment made him smile. After resting for a moment, he continued to inscribe. At daybreak, Qin Yun raised his carving knife and let out a long sigh. He laughed loudly and said, "It's done." He had also reached his limit. Even walking was a little weak, so he fell asleep on the side of the bed. Dong, dong, dong. At noon, someone knocked on the door and woke Qin Yun up. After he got up, he hurriedly opened the door. General Director. Qin Yun was surprised to see the white-robed Duan Qian. "Kid, you seemed to be busy late last night. What were you doing?" Duan Qian glanced into the room and saw a furnace and a forging hammer. He was slightly shocked. "You've started forging." "I'm forging a half-spirit artifact." Qin Yun did not hide it and grinned. After Duan Qian entered the room, he was even more shocked when he saw the alchemy patterns on the furnace and the forging hammer. High-grade alchemy runes were very precious. "Show me your work." Duan Qian was a little excited. Qin Yun had previously received Duan Qian's help twice in secret, so he had an extremely good impression of Duan Qian. Moreover, he held a high position and was not a despicable person. He was trustworthy. He immediately took out two knives. One was carved with origin-gathering runes, and the other with solid runes. Duan Qian frowned as he looked at the two blades and observed them very seriously. A moment later, he said, "The solid inscription is not bad. For someone of your age, this is not easy. However, there are still a few flaws. Your solid inscription gives off a weak feeling and is slightly jerky. It should be because you were not in a good enough state when you were inscribing the inscriptions. As for the one with the origin-gathering rune, it's extremely good. It's full of spirit, and it's also very familiar." It was Qin Yun's second time carving the origin-gathering rune. He had indeed maintained a good enough state. As for the one with the solid inscription, it was the first time he had come into contact with the solid inscription. Furthermore, in order to temper himself to the limit, he had endured his exhaustion to carve. Duan Qian had seen through all of this, causing Qin Yun to be filled with admiration. Chapter 54. A group of geniuses. Since Duan Qian had said so, Qin Yun would naturally pay attention. He was currently in a very good state. After eating the beast meat that Duan Qian had sent over, he was even more energetic. Duan Qian also fulfilled his previous promise and began to guide him in artifact forging, explaining the essentials of artifact forging. First, it was some general knowledge. Then it was the essence of forging a half-spirit artifact. These were all his own experiences. The lesson lasted until night, and Qin Yun listened attentively. His terrifying comprehension ability also surprised Duan Qian. For example, some of the more difficult areas could be mastered with just a little explanation. "Grandpa Duan, I'm truly grateful for your teachings." Qin Yun bowed to Duan Qian with deep gratitude. Duan Qian smiled and said, "It's just a small matter. Besides, you're also a promising talent. You don't have the arrogance of other young people, and your temperament is extremely good." Wei Xuanquan does indeed have some talent, but he is too proud and thinks highly of himself. I have taught him a few times, but not only was he absent-minded, he never thanked me. He even thought that I should teach him. He felt that he was a genius and that everyone had to revolve around him. He patted Qin Yun on the shoulder and smiled in relief. He continued, "In my eyes, you are more outstanding than most of the so-called geniuses. In the past 5 years, it has not been easy for you to climb out of that abyss of eternal damnation. Because of this, you have a calmness that your peers do not have." "Grandpa Duan, how's the gathering?" Qin Yun suddenly thought of this matter and was somewhat curious. "It's just like that. A group of so-called geniuses with bad tempers gathered together to compete and fight to the death." Duan Qian smiled. "That's not something you need to worry about. You have to consolidate your cultivation and then learn how to forge a variety of half-spirit artifacts. Once you have a solid foundation and step into the 6th level of the martial body realm, you will have enough mental strength to forge a true spirit artifact. Good half-spirit artifacts were also very expensive. The 2 sabers that Qin Yun had forged were each sold for more than 20,000 crystal coins. A top-grade half-spirit artifact could even be sold for 100,000 crystal coins. For example, one that was refined from a rank 4 beast bone and a low-grade spirit steel. In order to become a good refiner, one had to be proficient in the creation of materials. In the Divine Inscription Palace, Qin Yun helped Duan Xian forge the rank 4 demonic beast bone and low-grade spirit steel into pieces of low-grade bone steel. Each piece of bone steel was only the size of a palm, but it weighed several dozen kilograms. After more than 20 days of forging, he had become more and more proficient. The low-grade bone steel he had forged was comparable to the ones Duan Xian had forged. Inferior-grade bone steel was the main material needed to forge inferior-grade spear weapons. Working for the Divine Inscription Palace also had a good reward. In the past 20 days, Qin Yun had earned more than 100,000 crystal coins from selling a few sabers. He now had more than 200,000 crystal coins, which was considered very rich for a 15-year-old. Next, I want to refine some good half-spirit artifacts for myself. With a saber, Qin Yun did not need to refine any more weapons for the time being. He felt that the forging hammer was not good enough, so he decided to use low-grade bone steel to refine a good forging hammer. In order to forge a real spirit artifact, one needed to carve 2 different spear inscriptions. In order not to disturb another type of spirit rune, one had to have an extremely strong mental power to control it. Although Qin Yun's mental strength was strong, it was insufficient. If he were to forcefully refine it, it would cause his mind to be injured. Therefore, he could only refine a half-spirit artifact to lay a good foundation. Inscribing spirit inscriptions on low-grade bone steel was much more difficult than inscribing spirit iron. The purple-gold fire martial spirit also played a great role at this time. The power of the blood soul condensed from the fire inner force was extremely scorching hot. It was easier for it to carve lines on the hard-bone steel. After being taught by Duan Xian for almost a month, Qin Yun had made tremendous progress, especially when it came to forging half-spirit artifacts. He had already reached an extremely high level. In order to keep the high-grade spirit inscriptions that he had mastered secret, he would not sell a half-spirit artifact with high-grade spirit inscriptions carved on it. The forging hammer and furnace have been forged. They're all made from bone steel. When I can carve a second type of spirit inscription myself, I will be able to turn them into real spirit artifacts. Qin Yun looked at the things he had painstakingly forged and was filled with joy. With a better forging hammer and furnace, it would be much easier to forge high-grade bone steel. He also planned to create an offensive half-spirit artifact, so he specially went to consult Duan Xian. After a deep discussion with Duan Xian, he had a rough idea in his mind and hurriedly went back to forge it. After more than 10 days, Qin Yun finally finished refining the half-spirit artifact. It was a very exquisite light gold wristband with lightning inscriptions. It was engraved with lightning runes that could store inner force. At a critical moment, he could activate the wristband and unleash a powerful thunder and lightning inner force to attack and defend himself. Duan Xian took it and played with it for a moment. He injected his inner force into it and released a violent bolt of lightning through the wristband. He praised, "This lightning wristband is not bad. It's equivalent to a 6th level martial body. Furthermore, it's a lightning attribute inner force. However, it can only be used once. Once is enough to give the enemy a fatal blow," Qin Yun said with a smile. As long as he activated the lightning wristband to unleash the power of lightning, the inner force inside would be exhausted and he would need to replenish it. Qin Yun had been in the Divine Inscription Palace for more than a month, and Yang Shiryu had yet to return. This made him somewhat worried. "Grandpa Duan, do you know where Teacher Yang came from?" Qin Yin had always wanted to know more about Yang Shiryu. Duan Qian stroked his long white beard and frowned slightly. It's hard to say. In short, she's in a bit of trouble right now. Since she didn't tell you, I can't say too much. You should work hard to improve yourself. Only by grasping great power can you change a lot of things. I will definitely work hard. Qin Yun did not pursue the matter. Yang Shiryu possessed the moon martial spirit. With such outstanding talent, she definitely came from a famous sect. Most of the disciples of famous sects had no choice. For example, Xiao Yuelan, a daughter of the heavens, was restrained and could not even decide on her own marriage. Thinking of this, Qin Yun secretly rejoiced that he had already escaped from this situation. A middle-aged man knocked on the door and entered. It was Duan Qian's follower. The results of the great ensemble have already been decided. Xiao Yuanmei is first, Xiao Lang is second, Qin Feng is third, Meng Feiling is fourth, Yi Chunlei is fifth. The top 10 have all been accepted by the 3 Xian level martial academies. The middle-aged man said. He actually recruited 10 at once. In the past, only the top 3 were taken away. Duan Qian was somewhat surprised. After thinking for a moment, he said with a smile, "No wonder. There are quite a few good foundations this time." Qin Yun was alarmed. Xiao Yuanmei was clearly the princess of the Tian Shao Empire. She was actually number 1. From the name, she was definitely Xiao Yuelan's sister. Chapter 55. Hidden Dragon Qin Yun was the 5th prince, and Qin Tianyi was the 4th prince. The first prince had died when he was a few years old. The current crown prince of Tianqin was the 3rd prince. As the 2nd prince, Qin Feng's aptitude was not bad either. For Sun's spiritual pulse, Qin Yun did not know what his martial spirit was. Qin Feng had studied in another empire's martial arts academy, so he did not know much about it. Among the top 5, it seems that only Meng Feiling is not familiar with them. Duan Qian said. The 5th-ranked Yi Chunlei is also in cahoots with them. Qin Yun suddenly thought of the Yi family. The empress was a member of the Yi family, but he had never heard of such a person in the Yi family. Yi Chunlei has the Thunder Axe martial spirit and the Force Sun spiritual pulse. Qin Feng has the Snow Wind martial spirit. They went to the Tian Shao Empire's martial arts academy to cultivate very early on, so it's normal that you don't know about it. Duan Qian said, they went there to befriend the powers of the Tian Shao Empire. The relationship between Tian Shao, Tianqin, and Tianqi was quite good, especially between the princes and princesses. What about Xiao Yuanmei? Qin Yun suddenly felt that the princes of the Tianqin kingdom were too weak. She's Xiao Yuelan's younger sister. This girl is only 14 years old, and she's already at the 6th level of the martial body realm. I don't know what martial spirit she has, but it won't be too bad. The young people of the Tian Shao Empire are all amazing. Duan Qian sighed and looked at Qin Yun. He said with a smile, "You're not much better than them. You're much stronger than them. Your comprehension of mysterious patterns is very high." General Director, the 3 people from the Black Level Martial Arts Academy are already in the living room. They want to see you. They have something to discuss with you. The middle-aged man said, "All right, I'll be right there." After Duan Qian left, Qin Yun came to a training room. Every day, he would arrange time for him to practice his martial arts. Knowing that the Empress's power was getting stronger and stronger, he had to work even harder to increase his strength. Qi explosion technique. With a punch, inner force surged and exploded outwards. A wave of air shook out, shattering all the rocks in the surroundings. The Qi explosion technique has already reached the initial success stage. The Qi explosion technique is like a shockwave. The Qi explosion technique was a low-grade Xian level martial technique. Qin Yun rarely used it in martial arts, but he still managed to cultivate it to the small success stage. The flame cloud steps had also reached the peak of the small success stage. It allowed him to move without a trace and was even faster. The one that improved the most was the Flame Light Fist. That was because he often used the Flaming Light Fist to retrieve the scorching hot materials from the furnace. Now that he had mastered it, if he used his full strength, his fists would be as hard as spirit steel and red-hot like iron. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. In order to wait for Yang Shiyu to return from the Tianxian martial school, Qin Yun stayed in the Divine Inscription Palace and did not go anywhere. These days, he had been forging inferior grade-bone steel. This way, he could train himself and obtain a good reward. Every day, he would release his inner strength to the limit, so his bone meridian gradually stabilized and became very thick. Even if the inner force violently surged through the body, it would not hurt the tendons and bones. Qin Yun had 2 inner elemental energies. If he were to instantly unleash 2 inner elemental energies, his body would not be able to withstand the powerful burst of inner energy. I should be able to cultivate the Heart Sutra now. Cultivating the Heart Sutra was very difficult. It was said that it required a large amount of resources or a certain amount of luck. Young Master Qin, Miss Meng is looking for you. An old man's voice came from outside the door. He was one of the stewards here. Bring her to my living room. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he tidied up his clothes and walked into the hall. Meng Failing, who was wearing black tight clothes, crossed her slender legs and sat on a chair, eating an apple. When she saw Qin Yun come out, she hurriedly stood up and said with a chuckle, "Greetings, Master Qin." "Senior, don't laugh at me." Qin Yun laughed at himself. "Of course not. You are a genuine master. You are much higher than that Wei Xuanquan." Meng Failing smiled mischievously as she stuck out her tongue and threw an apple at Qin Yun. "Senior, congratulations on entering the Xian Level Martial Arts Academy." Qin Yun took the apple and took a bite as he said with a smile, "It's not a big deal. What's there to congratulate? You can go in the future. I'm going to the Star Xianwu Academy. You can come in the future as well. I'll continue to be your senior." Meng Failing giggled as she gently caressed Qin Yun's cheek with the back of her hand. When Qin Yun smelled the wild fragrance on his body, he could not help but laugh dryly as he ate the apple. When Meng Failing saw that he was blushing, she giggled and did not tease him. She asked, "Little brother Yun, do you still have that kind of fire talisman? I want to buy it." "Yes. How much do you want? I can give it to you." Qin Yun felt that Meng Failing was a good person. She was not afraid of the Empress's faction and dared to be so close to him. Furthermore, she was very strong. "Give me 20. I don't need you to give it to me. I'll sell it for as much as I want." "You're alone, so you lack crystal coins, don't you?" Meng Failing said with great concern as she rubbed Qin Yun's head. 500 crystal coins each. 20 of them. A total of 10,000 crystal coins. How about it? Qin Yun did not stand on ceremony with Meng Failing. After all, she was a very forthright woman. "All right." Meng Failing took out 10 purple coins and handed them to Qin Yun. Usually, transactions that exceeded 10,000 would be settled with purple coins. "Senior, don't you have a storage spirit artifact?" Qin Yun saw Meng Failing put the fire talisman into a bag. "No, that thing is too expensive and it's not often sold. Even Xiao Lang doesn't have it." Meng Failing smiled and said, "If you can refine it in the future, you must sell it to me first. I'll save the crystal coins now. I'll give it to you when the time comes." Qin Yun said with a smile. Among the 36 spirit inscriptions, there were spatial spirit inscriptions that could allow him to refine a storage spirit artifact. Meng Failing was extremely happy. She kissed him on the cheek, causing him to blush slightly, causing the demoness to smile even more beautifully. "Your bone meridian has been consolidated, right? Next, I'll have to start cultivating the Heart Sutra. This is a bit difficult. It took me a full year to cultivate it." Qin Yun sighed. It would indeed take a lot of time. Meng Failing's eyes moved as she suddenly thought of something. She said, "Little brother Yun, you can participate in the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition and rush to the Hidden Dragon list. As long as you get first place, you will be able to obtain the Profound Heart Grass. Not only can the Profound Heart Grass help you cultivate the Heart Sutra, it will also be of great help to you in the future." Hidden Dragon martial arts competition? Qin Yun knew nothing about it. Following that, Meng Failing told him about the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition. It was jointly organized by the three Black Level Martial Academies and was under the responsibility of the Divine Inscription Palace. The location was in the Divine Inscription Villa. Both the 6th and 5th level martial body realm could participate, and Meng Failing had also participated. Meng Failing said, "Right now, the first ranked is Xiaolang. Xiao Yueme is 2nd, and I am 5th. It has been held for more than a month, and there are still 2 months before the ranking is sealed." Qin Yun recalled a month ago. At that time, someone had suddenly come to look for Duan Xian. It was very likely that they were talking about this matter. "I'm only at the 5th level of the martial body realm. Is that really possible?" Qin Yun also felt that he did not have much hope. After all, the people on the rankings were all very strong. Otherwise, Duan Xian would definitely let him go. Chapter 56. Dragon Slayer to be able to participate in the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition anonymously. Qin Yun was secretly tempted. Even if he lost, it was fine. He could just treat it as training. After Meng Failing left, he immediately forged a black mask for himself and wore it firmly on his head. Then, he headed for the Hidden Dragon Martial Field. The Hidden Dragon Martial Field was located on the east side of the Inscription Villa. It was also a very large building. There were more than 10 battle stages in the martial field. The main battle stage in the middle was the largest and was 100 meters wide. The other smaller battle stages were also 60 to 70 meters wide. After Qin Yun entered, he went to the registration counter. The registration fee is 100,000 crystal coins. An old man said, just the registration fee alone was so high that only the disciples of aristocratic families could afford it. Qin Yun hesitated, wondering if he should sign up. If he couldn't rush to the front, then this 100,000 would be wasted. It should be known that the warriors at the top of the Hidden Dragon list were all very talented young experts. It was extremely difficult to defeat them. "All right, I will participate." Qin Yun thought about it and decided to sign up. Even if he didn't win, it was worth it to spar with all kinds of people. "You participated anonymously, right? Code name?" The old man asked as he received the 100 purple coins. "Dragon Slaying." Qin Yun immediately thought of such a name. The elder nodded and made the badge for Qin Yun on the spot. He also let him drip blood on it to recognize him as the master. When going on stage to compete, one had to use a drop of blood on the badge to verify their identity, in case someone impersonated them. Qin Yun received the badge and headed to the interior of the hall. He saw that there were many names on the wall of the martial field. Dragon Slayer was at the very end. There were no top 10 names on this wall. The top 10 rankings were on a giant golden tablet with a dragon carved on it. The giant golden monument was near the center area. It stood tall and majestic, and it was extremely eye-catching. The name on it was also shining with golden light. "I wonder if I can enter the top 10. Qin Yun's heart was stirred as he hurriedly went to understand the rules. Those ranked below 100 can skip 20 challenges. In other words, the 1,000th ranked person could only challenge the 980th ranked person at most. From a 100th to the 11th place, one could only skip 5 challenges, but not the top 10. If he wanted to get first place, he would have to defeat everyone in the top 10. Those ranked below 100th would have to come out and accept the challenge within 2 hours. After being challenged, there would be a 6-hour truce period. Those ranked 11th to 100th would need 4 hours to accept the challenge, and the truce period was 8 hours. The top 10 had to accept the challenge within 6 hours, and the truce period was 12 hours. In 2 months, the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition will be sealed. I have to get into the top 10 before the seal. Qin Yun took his badge and went to the challenge office to register. He directly jumped 20 to challenge. In the first match, his opponent was a middle-aged man at the 5th level of the martial body realm. He only used 3 moves to knock his opponent off the stage. It was a very easy victory. Following that, Qin Yun began the second round. He also jumped 20 to challenge. If that person is in a truce, then jump 19. As long as he continuously challenged others and won consecutively, his ranking would quickly rise, and he would not be challenged by others. In one day, he had fought 10 matches and his ranking had risen by almost 200. In the hidden dragon martial field, many people were waiting for a challenge or to see who was weaker so that they could make a move. If he could enter the top 100, he would be able to obtain 2 superior yuan pills, and he would be able to recoup his losses. Therefore, entering the top 100 was the goal of many people. I've finally been challenged. Is it because I'm only at the 5th level of the martial body realm? Although Qin Yun had 2 hours to prepare, he still immediately accepted the challenge. After he walked onto the battling platform, he saw that the person who challenged him was a middle-aged man with a full beard. He was at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Dragon slaying and Yang Han begin now. Qin Yun did not use the flaming cloud steps. This would expose his identity. He could only use his inner force to run, but his speed was not slow at all. In an instant, he dodged Yang Han's palm strike. Yang Han never expected that the person in front of him, who was at the 5th level of the martial body realm, would be so nimble. He was secretly alarmed, because Qin Yun had won many matches in a row and was only at the 5th level of the martial body realm. He had been noticed by some people for a long time. "You're a little slow," Qin Yun said with a chuckle before quickly walking forward. His fist casually smashed down and landed on Yang Han's shoulder, creating a burst of flames. Yang Han cried out in pain as he flew out. Qin Yun's punch just now left many people astonished. That seemingly casual punch seemed to have a knack for it. The path of the punch was naturally smooth, and the use of inner force was extremely appropriate. It was as if an old blacksmith was skilled at forging iron. Just now, Qin Yun had used his fist as a forging hammer. He took 2 steps forward and kicked out. A burst of inner chi surged out and sent Yang Han flying off the battling platform. A 5th level martial body had actually defeated a 6th level. He had won very easily. This caused quite a commotion. The people who came to participate in the Hidden Dragon Gathering mainly came from the 3 empires and a few small and medium-sized countries. The vast majority of them were at the 6th level of the martial body realm. They were all shocked to see a 6th level martial body lose to a 5th level martial body. After Qin Yun was challenged, he would be able to obtain a truce of 6 hours. He hurriedly returned to the Divine Inscription Palace to rest. He came to the door of the room and opened it. A familiar fragrance wafted over. He saw Yang Shiryu inside. She was dressed in light blue tight clothes and had a high ponytail. She was dressed very simply, making her look elegant and refreshing without losing her charm. Qin Yun heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Teacher, you're back." Yang Shiryu chuckled and picked up the tea on the table. She said, "I've been waiting for you for a long time. Even Chief Duan doesn't know where you've gone. Tell me, you might be with Meng Fei Ling." Qin Yun hurriedly waved his hand to explain, as if he was worried that he would be misunderstood. He said with a smile, "I'm not with her." When Yang Shiryu saw his slightly red face, she smiled sweetly and said, "Why are you blushing? You should be happy that there's a girl who's close to you. Make good use of this opportunity. You're not young anymore." She walked over with a smile and placed her hand on Qin Yun's shoulder. She pretended to be serious and asked, "I already said not to run around. Where did you go?" Qin Yun took out a mask and put it on his face. He said with a smile, "Teacher, I'll participate in the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts competition anonymously. I'll try and see if I can get first place." Yang Shiryu had just returned from the Tianxian Martial Arts Academy. Of course, she knew about the Hidden Dragon Martial Art competition. She also planned to let Qin Yun participate. She took the mask and put it on her face. She smiled mischievously. "It's good to be anonymous. After all, the Empress has too many people. If they knew that you were participating, they would definitely do something." Qin Yun felt a little regretful. "It's just that I can't use those martial techniques anymore. Otherwise, it would be very easy to see through them." Yang Shiryu returned the mask to Qin Yun and sat on a chair. She took a sip of tea and said, "That's not a problem. In terms of movement technique, as long as you don't deliberately release your movement technique, inner chi, you won't be able to see through it. It's just that I can't use the flaming light fist because it's too obvious." Chapter 57. 10,000 Horses Shaking the Mountain. After Shuriwe handed over the 2 booklets to Qin Yun, she continued, "This is the mountain shaking style. If you learn the techniques inside, you will be able to make your inner chi and inner force even stronger. If the cultivator is strong enough, they will be able to shake a huge mountain. This is the 10,000 horse palm. It is said that it has reached the acme of perfection. Coupled with the cultivation of the 9th level martial body realm, it has the strength of 10,000 horses. Its aura is like 10,000 horses galloping. It is also a rather famous high-grade martial art. A high-grade martial technique was relatively easy for Qin Yun to grasp. It was suitable for him to learn now. With his comprehension of martial arts, he would be able to master it to the initial realm within a month. The Black Yang art was also a high-grade technique, and he had learned it to perfection. Yang Shiryu suddenly recalled that she had not taught Qin Yun for 2 months. She immediately entered the state of a teacher. Her beautiful face suddenly turned serious as she said, "Let's start learning now." Qin Yun nodded and listened to Yang Shiryu's explanation seriously, as usual. 6 hours later, Qin Yun reached the rudimentary level. Yang Shiryu was only slightly surprised. She was no longer surprised by Qin Yun's heaven-defying perception. Once the truce was over, someone would come to challenge him at any time. Qin Yun immediately headed for the hidden dragon martial field. As soon as he arrived at the arena, Qin Yun began to challenge and raise his ranking. He could also try out the martial technique he had just learned. Yang Shiryu also came to the hidden dragon martial field. She wore a robe and a mask to conceal her identity. In the hidden dragon martial field, there were also many people who wanted to hide their identities, so her attire would not be strange. Duan Qian had just learned that Qin Yun had anonymously participated in the hidden dragon martial arts tournament. This was what Yang Shiryu had told him. She wanted him to help hide Qin Yun's identity at the critical moment. The person Qin Yun challenged was a middle-aged man in his 40s with a square face. He was at the 6th level of the martial body realm and was dressed decently. It was obvious that he was wealthy. From the very beginning, the square-faced, middle-aged man used excellent qigong. His toes were like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. After a few taps, he leaped above Qin Yun, raised his thigh, and chopped down like an axe. His perfectly straight and powerful thighs looked like mountain-splitting axes, cleaving through the air and making whooshing sounds as he swept down. Such a smooth attack made many of the audience applaud and cheer. Qin Yun quickly moved a few meters away from his original spot. The square-faced, middle-aged man had also expected him to move. He moved his body nimbly in the air, like a fish leaping in joy, and caught up with Qin Yun, who was moving away. His thigh slammed down like a giant axe chopping down a tree. Myriad horse palm. Qin Yun grunted inwardly. He raised his palm and struck at the thigh that seemed to be cleaving down. He stirred up a palm wind that sounded like the whinny of a horse as it whizzed out. Bang! The 2 forces collided, producing a muffled wave of air. The confident, square-faced, middle-aged man was also caught off guard. He was sent tumbling by Qin Yun's palm strike and fell off the battling platform in a comical manner. "Dragon-slaying wins," the referee shouted. A 6th-level martial body with extraordinary strength had actually lost to an anonymous martial artist with the code name Dragon Slayer. This caused another small uproar. Now, the people at the bottom of the ranking are paying attention to Qin Yun. Although Qin Yun won, he did not feel satisfied, so he continued to challenge the top 10. He also didn't challenge those who were at the front because he needed to practice martial arts so that he could challenge more people. Just like that, he fought more than 10 matches in a row and did not lose once. At this moment, there were also people who recognized his martial skill and began to discuss it. From the discussions of the crowd, Qin Yun learned that the myriad horse palm was a high-grade martial skill that was relatively difficult to master. The myriad horse palm was sold in many places and was worth around 200,000 to 300,000. It wasn't too expensive, and some small families could afford it. However, it was too difficult to learn, so very few people bought it. Qin Yun only used the myriad horse palm to attack. He wanted to use the mountain quaking stance, but there was no suitable opportunity. The mountain quaking stance was mainly used to deal with people with extremely strong defenses. He won more than 20 matches in a row and was ranked in the 800s. After being challenged, he was finally granted a 6-hour truce. During the break, he hurriedly returned to his suite in the Divine Inscription Palace and continued practicing his martial arts. In the spacious training room of the suite, he fought with Yang Shiryu. This could train him to use his martial arts skills more freely. Yang Shiryu said, "You have to hurry up and rush into the top 100. The people in this ranking range are all of a higher level." After fighting with Qin Yun for 4 hours, she gave Qin Yun 2 hours to rest. In the span of a few days, Qin Yun continuously challenged and won all the way until he finally reached the 101st rank. Now he was going to challenge the 100th rank. It had been many days since anyone had entered the top 100. Therefore, the moment Qin Yun challenged the 100th rank of the Hidden Dragon list, it immediately attracted the attention of many people. On the second floor of the Hidden Dragon Martial Field, there were many luxurious suites. Only extremely wealthy people could afford to live in them. From the rooms, one could also see the competition below. Most of the people ranked in the top 10 were in the heavenly suites on the second floor. Interesting. A guy at the 5th level of the martial body realm actually went from the last to the 100th place in a few days. A tall and sturdy young man with a beard on his face said. His voice was rough like thunder. He was Yi Chenlei, who was ranked 4th. This guy can't be Qin Yun, right? A woman in a red dress snorted coldly. She was the princess of the Tianqi Empire. Her name was Qi Shui, and she was ranked 7th on the Hidden Dragon list. Xiao Lang said disdainfully, Qin Yun is most proficient in the Fire Cloud Steps and the Flaming Light Fist. He doesn't have either. Of course, even if Qin Yun were to come, he would definitely not be our match. If Yin Xingyu were to seriously compete with Qin Yun, he would not have ended up like this. Qi Shui looked at a handsome youth who was drinking and said with a charming smile, Qin Feng, aren't you going to watch this match? It's very popular. Qin Feng looked at Qi Shui indifferently. He looked rather proud as he said, There's nothing to see. You're only ranked 7th right now. When will you reach 5th place? The 6th place Qi Milan is your princess, and the 5th place is Meng Fei Ling. You aren't any worse than these two women, right? Qi Milan, that bitch. When I'm in a good condition, I'll definitely beat her down and make her lose in a very ugly manner. Qi Shui gritted her teeth and said, As for that which, Meng Fei Ling, it's a bit difficult. I was almost killed by her in the competition at the Great Assembly. Qin Feng continued to drink and looked at Xiao Lang. He asked, Have you finished your discussion with Yume? With her personality, she will definitely get 1st place. On the Hidden Dragon list, Xiao Lang was ranked 1st and Xiao Yume was 2nd. Xiao Lang sighed helplessly and cursed in a low voice. He said with a wry smile, This girl is really a headache. Although she's not as cold as her sister, she has the same bad temper as her sister. If she wants to challenge me, I won't be able to fight or not. If they who were ranked in the top 10 were to fight, there would definitely be a lot of commotion and it would attract a lot of attention, not to mention the competition between 1st and 2nd place. After a loud explosion, a burst of exclamations suddenly came from outside the window. It's the mountain shaking style. Yi Chenlei looked down at the battling platform and was slightly shocked. Chapter 58. Preparing for the top 10. Many people thought that Qin Yun would be completely suppressed by the giant from the very beginning, who knew that after he displayed the mountain quaking form, the aura he released was not inferior to that of the giant. In just 2 moves, the giant was sent flying to the ground. After Qin Yun used the mountain quaking stance, he saw his opponent as a mountain. He saw himself as a giant halfway up the mountain and pushed the giant mountain. His aura was like the power to push a mountain. This was the power of the mountain quaking stance. After the giant stood up, Qin Yun immediately flew over and struck out with the mountain shaking stance. A blast of air blasted out and sent the giant flying. Bang! The giant's huge and heavy body landed heavily below the battling platform, shattering the thick stone tiles on the ground. Slaying dragon wins. Advancing to the top 100. Qixue looked at Qin Yun, who was walking down the battling platform, and could not help but frown. She said, "This fellow easily entered the top 100. Even I wouldn't be able to knock that big guy off the stage so easily." Yi Chenlei's expression was solemn. "That's the Hanzhan form. Where did this guy come from? He actually mastered such an unorthodox martial art. He must have studied it for many years." Xiaolang laughed. "You're a big guy. You're most afraid of this kind of martial arts, right?" Yi Chenlei thought nothing of it and said with a cold smile, "Him? He's still inexperienced. I have the thunder axe martial spirit. Once I move my inner force, I can release lightning. If anyone tries to get close to me, they will definitely be struck by lightning." Qin Feng had just gone out for a while. When he pushed open the door and entered, there was a trace of doubt on his face as he said, "News just came that the masked man is living in the divine inscription palace." Qixue exclaimed, "Could it really be Qin Yun?" Qin Feng shook his head and said, "The masked man is not Qin Yun. When Yang Shiyu returned from the Tianxian Martial Arts Academy, she went to the divine inscription palace to bring Qin Yun back. My people went to the divine inscription palace and found out that the masked man is a blacksmith in the divine inscription palace who specializes in making low-grade bone steel. No wonder this fellow is so mysterious. The fellows in the divine inscription palace have always been like this. There's nothing strange about it. It's fine as long as it's not Qin Yun. Otherwise, I would have to report to the family." Yi Chenlei relaxed and sat down to drink. In the divine inscription palace, in a training room, Yang Shiyu was fighting with Qin Yun. After sparring for more than 2 hours, Qin Yun was exhausted, but Yang Shiyu did not even pant. With a charming smile on her face, Yang Shiyu took out a special drink and poured a cup. She handed it to Qin Yun and said, "There are still about 40 days until the ranking is sealed. There's still plenty of time. It's best if you improve yourself as much as possible during this period of time. Only then will you be able to reach first place." Qin Yun drank a mouthful of the purple liquid. It was extremely unpleasant to drink. As it was given to him by Yang Shiyu, he could only bite the bullet and finish it. When Yang Shiyu saw Qin Yun's bitter face frown, she could not help but let out a bell-like laughter. She said, "It's a little unpleasant to drink. This is something that can quickly recover one's stamina." Indeed, not long after Qin Yun drank it, his body miraculously recovered his strength. Then, he continued to spar with Yang Shiyu until he was exhausted. Qin Yun sat on the ground and leaned against the wall. He drank the unpleasant drink and said with a face full of regret, "Teacher, the wind-slaying spell is so powerful, but I can't use it. This has a great restriction on my strength." Back then, he had relied on this move to defeat Yin Xingyu with his bare hands. If he could not use it, his strength would be greatly reduced. Yang Shiyu lowered her head and pondered. After thinking for a moment, she suddenly said, "The wind-slaying style is a saber technique. I'll try and see if I can change it into a hammer technique. In any case, you need to use it to forge weapons. It will be of help to you in the future." Qin Yun was immediately delighted as he said with a smile, "Teacher, you really are a martial arts master. Your comprehension of martial arts seems to be much faster than mine. When you gave me pointers, you were like a grandmaster. Furthermore, you are so beautiful." Yang Shiyu smiled and pouted coquettishly. "You little fellow, don't be so glib-tongued. I only understand martial arts quickly, but I can't comprehend its essence. I'm only strong in theory. This is mainly because when I was young, I often read through a large number of martial arts cultivation techniques to accumulate my foundation. You practice here by yourself. I'll go change a hammer technique for you." She entered the room. She needed a quiet environment to improve her cultivation technique. In order to narrow the gap between him and Yang Shiyu, Qin Yun needed to work harder. After training for more than 2 hours, he suddenly received a notice. Someone had come to challenge him and told him to accept the challenge within 4 hours. Not long after I entered the top 100, someone came to challenge me. Qin Yun also wanted to quickly see who was challenging him. More than 2 hours later, Qin Yun walked on the road to the hidden dragon martial field. On the way, a middle-aged woman walked over and handed him a piece of paper. He opened it and saw that it was written by Meng Failing. Little brother Yun, I've been closely watched recently, so I won't be meeting you anymore. I don't want to expose your identity. I wish you luck. After reading this line of graceful words, he clenched it tightly in his palm and released flames to burn it. As soon as he entered the hidden dragon martial field, he locked on his stage number 7. His opponent was standing there, an old man who was also a martial artist at the 6th level martial body realm. He looked very confident and wore a clean white robe with his sleeves rolled up. He looked like an expert. Qin Yun quickly walked onto the dueling platform as the referee shouted for the match to begin. Watch this. The white-clothed old man was very polite, but his moves were not polite at all. They were all ruthless and vicious claw techniques. Like a wolf's attack, it caused many people to be secretly alarmed. Qin Yun was somewhat surprised. He never expected to meet such a powerful opponent so quickly. The white-clothed old man's speed was very fast. Whether it was the speed of his attacks or the speed of his running, he was faster than Qin Yun. In the luxurious suite on the 2nd floor of the hidden dragon martial field, Xiao Lang held a cup of wine in his hand and smiled faintly. Attack like a wolf, speed like the wind. This is the most outstanding part of Old Man Wolf. Yi Chunlei said, Old Man Wolf is Yumei's follower, right? He's really strong. Xiao Lang said with a smile, that girl Yumei, letting her follower participate in the hidden dragon martial arts competition should be because she wants him to enter the top 10. At that time, if he can't even defeat her follower, he will be laughed at. What a playful girl. On the battling platform, Qin Yun did not know that Old Man Wolf was Xiao Yuemei's follower. He only knew that the other party's strength was extraordinary and his combat experience was extremely rich. He and Old Man Wolf had exchanged more than 100 moves, but he was still unable to tell what the other party's martial spirit was. Up until now, he had been completely suppressed and could only dodge his opponent's swift and violent attacks. Could it be that this old man has a dual attribute martial spirit, the Wind Wolf martial spirit? Qin Yun guessed. There were quite a few dual attribute martial spirits, which meant that there were 2 attributes in one martial spirit. The mountain shaking style was used to deal with slow-moving martial artists with extremely strong defense. However, against such a nimble martial artist, it was impossible to use it. Qin Yun was extremely puzzled. He could not use the fire cloud steps or the wind slasher art. Otherwise, he would have been able to defeat his opponent by surprise. The wind slasher art was a martial art that restrained the wind. He had attacked more than 10 times, but he did not put any pressure on his opponent. The main reason was that his opponent's speed was too fast, and he could always dodge them. That's the only way. Qin Yun hardened his heart and gathered a surge of inner qi. Chapter 59. 6 Styles of Forging Dragon. The Qi Explosion technique was Qin Yun's trump card, but even if he used it directly, he might not be able to hit it. This was because the old man's speed was too fast. Old Wolf launched another swift and violent attack. A pair of wolf claws swiped over. Originally, he thought that Qin Yun would dodge, but he never expected that Qin Yun would directly attack with his palm. Furthermore, it was aimed at his claws. Myriad horse palm. Everyone was alarmed by Qin Yun's actions as they let out exclamations. Does this kid want to die? You want to use your bare hands to fight against my wolf claws? The old man was shocked in his heart. He used his powerful claws to grab it. Old Wolf's fingernails were like sharp daggers. If they were to be caught, their skin would definitely be lacerated. No one would wish for their body to be caught. Just as Qin Yun's palm was about to make contact with the wolf's claw, it suddenly whistled and exploded with a boom sound wave. The air waves that burst out carried the power of 10,000 horses, shaking Old Man Lang's arms to the point that they let out crisp cracking sounds. The old wolf cried out in pain. The bones in his arms and hands were broken. His thin body was also blown away by the blast. He seemed to have been blown away by a gust of wind, and he landed dozens of meters away from the stage. The pain in his arms made him slightly fearful. If it weren't for his rich experience and instinctively protecting his arms, they might have been destroyed. Old Man Lang took a deep breath of cold air. He still had lingering fear in his heart. He muttered to himself, "I was too careless. This brat's instantaneous explosive power is really scary." Within the 10,000 horse palm, there was another martial technique that caused his inner energy to burst forth. What kind of martial technique is this? Qin Yun had accumulated 2 sets of inner elemental energy and fused them together to create an explosion. The power was indeed terrifying. Fortunately, his bone meridian had already stabilized and was able to withstand the explosion of inner qi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to use it. Xiao Lang, who was in the luxurious suite, said in surprise, "Old Man Wolf actually lost to someone at the 5th level of the martial body realm." Qi Shui coldly snorted. The masked man is really not simple. After he entered the top 100, he did not continue to challenge. What the hell is he doing? Suddenly, the door was pushed open, and a girl wearing a light blue dress with a ponytail walked in. She wore a mask, and her clear and beautiful eyes seemed to be filled with anger. The girl asked, "Who is the masked man?" "You actually injured Old Wolf." "UMA, he's a blacksmith in the Divine Inscription Palace," Yi Chenlei hurriedly said with a smile. Qin Feng, who had been drinking, immediately stood up and walked over. "This masked girl is Xiao Yuanmei." Qin Feng's drunken eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at the masked girl with a hearty smile and said, "Yume, the masked man is just a blacksmith. If he dares to enter the top 10, I will definitely make him pay." Yi Chenlei was a little displeased. He said in a deep voice, "That'll have to wait for him to fight. Even if he fights, it's not your turn to teach him a lesson." Qin Feng chuckled. "That's right, I'm ranked 3rd, and you're ranked 4th. If he were to fight, he would indeed meet you first. But you still have to be careful. This guy knows the Han style." The one who was the most unhappy was Qi Shui, because Qin Feng and Yi Chenlei had never been jealous of her. Now that Xiao Yuanmei arrived, it has become like this. Xiao Yuanmei seems to be used to it. She asked about the masked man situation and left. Qi Shui said, "Yuanmei seems to be very concerned about this masked man." Xiao Lang laughed. "That masked man is going to be out of luck. Yuanmei wants to take him in as a follower." After Qin Yun returned to the Divine Inscription Palace, he entered the training room to cultivate. He had gained a lot from his battle with the old man today. He was able to use the Qi explosion technique and the 10,000 horse palm together. He thought back to the previous competition and thought to himself, "Qin Gong is my shortcoming. It seems that I can only practice harder and use my inner force to run. This will at least increase my speed a little." Then, in the training room, he sprinted back and forth and began to practice running. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. Qin Yun was extremely puzzled because no one had come to challenge him in the past 2 days. The martial artists in the Hidden Dragon martial field were not stupid. They could tell that he was very strange, so they all skipped over him and went to challenge others. Suddenly, Yang Shiryu came out of her room and asked with a charming smile, "How have the past 2 days been? How many matches did you fight?" "I only fought 1 match." Qin Yun told Yang Shiryu about the battle between him and the old man. After Yang Shiryu heard this, she took out 2 pages of paper and said with some pride, "I have successfully changed the 6-style Wind Slayer technique into a hammer technique. I can also use my fist to execute it." Qin Yun, who was sitting on a stool, suddenly jumped up. He was extremely excited as he said with a smile, "Teacher, you're really amazing. I thought it would take at least a month to complete it so quickly." Yang Shiryu's face was filled with arrogance as she said with a chuckle, "You're underestimating me too much. This is just a modification of an existing martial skill. I have also combined a few other martial skills, so the progress is quite smooth." After saying that, she put on a serious expression and shouted, "It's time for class. You have to be serious." Qin Yun hurriedly sat down and nodded. This hammer technique is called the six-style forging dragon. The main point is similar to the six-style wind slayer technique. It's mainly used in conjunction with the flame inner force. Following that, Yang Shiryu very seriously guided Qin Yun in learning the six-style forging dragon. Qin Yun held the forging hammer and began swinging it in the training room. Yang Shiryu watched from the side. If she found anything lacking, she would improve it. After practicing for 2 days, he was able to use his inner force to execute it. It was equivalent to the small success realm. The main reason was that he had a very good grasp of the six-style wind slayer technique, and the six-style forging dragon technique was an improved version of the six-style wind slayer technique. Furthermore, he had Yang Shiryu to guide him from the side. Qin Yun and Yang Shiryu began training in the training room. After more than 2 hours, he nodded his head in satisfaction. The effect of using fists will be a little weaker, but it's not a problem. In order to test the might of this hammer technique, he specially forged a piece of low-grade bone steel. In the past, it would have taken him 6 hours to complete. Now, it only took him 2 hours, cutting the time by half. Qin Yun praised, "Teacher, with your hammer technique, it will be even more convenient for me to forge artifacts in the future." Yang Shiryu patted his head and said with a sweet smile, "When you can forge a spirit artifact, I'll let you make one for me." "No problem." Qin Yun patted his chest and said with a smile. Yang Shiryu took out a towel and helped him wipe his sweat. She said softly, "Go and rest first, then fight again. Don't worry too much about number 1. Ensuring your own body is the most important thing. Remember that you still have the identity of an inscription master." Qin Yun understood the meaning behind Yang Shiryu's words. She was worried that she would use that method to torture him like she did to Yin Xingyu. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.